Hi, this is Editor Fiaura at 3 a.m. I'm sorry this took so long to get out. It was supposed to come out 3 weeks ago, and I genuinely just dropped the ball, and I apologize for that. We already have the Elven episode recorded, and this Wednesday we're sitting down to record our first offshoot episode, which is a book episode about Gotrek and Felix. I do apologize. Again, it's just been some scheduling issues and motivation issues on my end. We have them fixed now, so hopefully we'll be getting these out to you every week again starting this week. Thank you all for your patience. Hello, everyone. We're here today to talk about knights in shining armor, literally. And I am joined, as usual, by Ginger.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ginger, aka Scott, aka Ginger Senpai, aka man who needs some more sleep.
And a lovely and talented guest of ours, Reycall.
Hi there. How are you doing?
And Reycall asked to talk about Bretonnians.
I sure do love the Frenchmen.
So we had Reycall also painted up as one of your fair Bretonnian knights.
Amazing.
Who did the art, by the way?
We're actually going to start with you. How are you this week, Reycall? What did you get up to?
Well, I spent aside from my daily 9 to 5, I spend quite a lot of time actually just planning content out for my streams and for my, well, not streams, but for my streams to be or returning to be, and for my like Twitter and for my TikTok, and that's like a big part of what I do, and also spending quite a lot of time with like my Discord community. Yeah, that's like really the long and short of it. I spend a lot of time kind of just making my content and community grow and get bigger and better.
Ginger, I'm afraid to ask.
well, after last week telling a certain insurance company to go F themselves, luckily we found a insurance company that were like, hey, you're cool, you're as cool as an insurance company can be. So good things happening there. I forget if I mentioned this last week, but since the last recording, for those who've been keeping up, I'll be working in Hawaii, and on Pride of Norwegian Cruise Line's Pride of America, and I finally officially got my plane tickets there, and has the itinerary, which is going to be having me go from from Vermont to Chicago to Denver, and then Denver to Maui, and that's going to be some long plane rides, and just getting me and my mother realizing that that's soon going to happen. So that's kind of what's been going on. I also this past weekend did sound for a little block party music festival, which I'll describe as controlled chaos. All festivals are controlled chaos, but oh boy, was this chaos. I could do a whole episode on that, but I'm not going to. But it was just still a good send-off to like do one last kind of event with some people who I've worked with in the past. But that's kind of what I've been up to for the most part.
Okay. Well, I was trying to stream this week. That worked out pretty well until Thursday when I got access to Space Marine 2, and it's good for a Warhammer game.
Okay, good for a Warhammer game, but if we take off Warhammer, how is it as a game?
It's okay.
Definition.
Ooh, really? That's disappointing to hear. Is it better or worse than Helldivers?
It's not as good as Helldivers. Like, physically speaking, you're going to have a wonderful story, very good set dressing, very good props, very good background. Like, everything outside of the actual gameplay is top notch. 100%.
That's so unfortunate. There. That's so unfortunate. I was so excited for that game. Granted, I'm still gonna play it, but you know.
The actual gameplay, it reflects most of Space Marine 1, but instead of adding a lot of stuff to it, they've taken away so much.
Well, have they put something else somewhere else?
Not really.
Oh.
You don't have the Space Marine Stomp anymore. You can only heal your health with stem packs. So once you take health damage, it's basically permanent unless you find a stem pack, which are generated randomly.
Oh, that's never fun.
The block and parry system that they showed off is there, except for there are conditions by which enemy attacks don't get highlighted, and those conditions are more common than the highlighted ones. So you have to pay very close attention to their animations or you just get slapped.
Doesn't sound too bad. I could enjoy something that requires me to actually be aware, be attentive. I think that's a fun little idea. I'd have to try for myself, but
Yeah. It requires a lot of awareness and attentiveness and paying attention. It's definitely made more for a hardcore game audience than a casual audience.
I see.
It's going to require you to sit down and practice, and you're going to get frustrated.
Okay.
Which, from what I know of, like Warhammer is termed. You can call me out on this if I'm wrong. It seems like it's such a very small audience that it's trying to go even more niche with that. Kind of seems like they're just shooting themselves in the foot.
They're a little bit, yeah. The last issue is there is no offline play.
Oh, like with at least
If you were playing the campaign, the supposedly single player campaign, quotation marks. Not only are you encouraged to have your friends play your two squad mates by various mechanics, as well as the fact the AI squad mates aren't nearly as aggressive as a person would be. If you are set to offline mode on Steam, someone who knows your Steam name or is a friend of yours on Steam can jump into your single player campaign session without your consent.
That's a little silly. Is there really no way to?
I tried this out with Propmaster, my book editor, because he was playing, and I said, I told him I want you to switch to offline mode on Steam. He switched to offline mode. I clicked on his name and I could still hit join game. And when I hit join game, it dropped me into his lobby. No questions asked. He didn't even get a notification. He didn't get a warning. He didn't know I was there. I started doing this to my friends to see if they got a notification or anything. I literally dropped into my friend's game during the last boss fight and helped him win the last boss fight. And he was never aware I was there until I opened comms and said, "Hey, how you doing?"
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah, there's that's just such bad game design, though. I like how you just kind of made your way into now what we've done for media, because I got some things to say about that, and not about that, but talk about media. But at least with Vermintide, it felt like the game, going back to I played it only for a little bit, but it felt like okay, anyone with some kind of experience playing video games could pick up Vermintide and have a fun time.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to practice this one for a little bit, because even on normal difficulty, you have armor and health combined is 25, and enemies do an average of 3 to 6.
Yikes. But if you got any more on no more on that.
Nope, that was my week.
Okay, so
that was my week, and the media that I dove into. You have something to say about media? You got stuck into Ginger apparently?
Oh yeah. Since we last did a podcast, I finished up the anime My Dress Up Darling. Oh my goodness, I love this show so much. Ray, are you familiar with My Dress Up Darling?
Of course, I've seen it. Yeah, it's so cute. I love it
because and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. I won't spoil it, the end, not the ending, but at least the end of the season. But it's if you've ever cosplayed or know cosplayers, the show knows all of that. It knows the struggle, it knows the process, it knows the joy. And I'm either the writer is a cosplayer themselves or they know people, because I've only casually cosplayed, but I know people who do it competitively or seriously. I say seriously in air quotes because it's all fun, but you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And the show nails it. And like there's moments, I forget if I mentioned it last time, where like the main character, he like runs away for some reason because he's scared, and she tracks him down and just goes, "Yo, what's going on?" And because like 95% of like that genre of anime, so many problems could be fixed with them just talking. And like so many authors go, "Well, if we have them just talk, the series will end." My Just Up Darling proves that's a horrible excuse, because it then makes great plot behind them sitting and talking out their problems. Like, I'll give a perfect example. This is not spoiler, because almost anyone who talks about the show mentions the scene where he's making the cosplay for the first time, and he does, he pushes himself, does all-nighters, all this. And there's a scene where he mentions all that, and she in a worse written anime would have just played it off for laughs. But then they have this whole scene where she realizes that she did not communicate. He also realizes he doesn't. So it does a great job of like, they're both to blame, but also both not to blame at the same time. And I know that sounds like a weird scene to kind of explain it, but it just shows the maturity in the writing that the show has.
Yeah,
And for
no,
media,
absolutely.
yeah, and the only media I'll just jump through. I've played Yakuza 0, which I played years ago, but I'm like, I bought it on Steam. It was like $20, and I have a Steam Deck, so I'm like, okay, I want to get the initial part started so I can do all the fun later stuff in it. And it's just one of those games when you get back to, it's like, oh my god, I forgot how much fun this game is. Have you played Yakuza 0?
Yes, I have. I
Yeah.
love Yakuza's Hero. Majima's introduction it lives rent free in my
Yeah,
head.
Majima is like, and I realized like Kiryu's great, but like Majima to me is my favorite of the two, because like, even though slight spoilers for anyone who's plays the series, later installments portray him a bit pretty nutty, but like, um,
He's not
he's
always that
really
guy.
right. And I have a fun fan theory that the nutcase is an act, and it's basically, since you played Zero, there's the sub story where you get the cute plushies for the girl standing outside of the arcade. My
Hmm.
fan theory, is that he puts on the persona because there's one little dialogue at the end where he basically just says, "Ah, being this father figure feels nice." My fan theory is he puts on the persona to protect them, because they're like, who wants to like screw with his, anyone he's close to. But yeah, Bajima's also my favorite because I just feel like he's more human than like Kiryu. Kiryu's still great and he's a fun character, but Majima is my favorite.
Absolutely, I really love Majima in that game. His narrative arc just really strikes a bigger chord with me than Kiryu's. Kiryu's is like, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly. But I just think it feels so much more real what Majima's going
Right,
through.
because also the problem is like Kiryu has had, if you've come into Zero, I tell people Zero's a great spot to start with the Yakuza series, because the problem, and this is not a spoiler, there's characters who either die in later games or are still alive. So there's that, you as a viewer, because it's a prequel, you as the viewer know, oh, they die in, for example, they die in 4, they're still alive in 7. So any tension of like, ooh, this character might die, we know from the future there's no tension there.
Right? No, absolutely.
So Zero's a great one to be like, someone's like, hey, I want to try Yakuza, start Zero,
Yeah.
because
No. Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah. But it's still, even with that, and that's just a weird issue of a series that's been along that much. But I'm like, no, Zero's a great place to start because it's so much fun.
Hmm. Agreed.
Well, we have a few more minutes for media stuff.
Hmm.
Reycall, have you
I
dove into anything
I
this week?
did. I actually did. So in my Discord, every Wednesday night we have a little anime night. We watch something. We were watching another show a little while ago called Last Exile, but we finished it like a little while ago. So we decided to start going with movies, and we randomly generated a movie to watch, and it was called Mind Games. I really it's almost even hard to spoil if you've ever watched this movie. You might know, like, it's a very much like an art house anime film, but it's coherent enough where like you're not like what's going on. It has
Okay,
a
hold on. Are we talking about the British mind game film,
no, it's an anime,
or the Japanese anime, or the
The
French one?
Japanese anime film Mind.
Okay.
And it is beautiful. Just to start, like the animation is simple, but it really gets its point across very, very well. It's super clean, super like every moment is just filled with like either laughs, excitement, or just like a little bit of like heart touch. And I think that's what really, really, really makes it for me is the movie just knows how to perfectly balance the line between all those emotions so well, and to like really inspire you to like reevaluate your life and like be like, what am I doing? Like, am I wasting my life? Am I being too much of a nice guy? Like, I think that's like the first thing the movie really, really like wants you to kind of like think about. Like, am I being so much of like a nice, passive, like kind person, quote unquote kind person, that I'm forgetting that I can like, I can want things and I can desire things and I should speak up for the things I want. And I really like that about that film. It is unapologetically tells you that like that is something you want to do, you want to strive for, you want to like want things. You want to want things, and that's okay. And I really
Yeah.
like that film for that. It's a really
Which
great film.
which slightly reminds me to another anime I was watching. I watched a little bit more of Spy X Family, and I got to the episode. I think it's called something kitchen where she goes out and it filmed it so well because we think, oh no, she's like on another mission, and there's like a great line where she's like, "Oh, if I fail this, I'll lose my family." And it's we all think, for those who've watched Spy X Family, you understand what the context is. Was like, "Oh no, oh," and then like you see the bag get bloody, and we're like, "Uh oh," and then you realize, "Oh wait, it was a tomato." But I love that episode because I love when a series is willing in a good way. Sometimes it can be bad filler, but where a series can just slow down and let you have the characters exist without there being a plot of the week that has to be solved or else the world ends. Like one of my favorite episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is it's in Diamonds Unbreakable where they go to the restaurant. The episode has no meaning
That's
on
a
the
good
plot,
episode. Yeah.
but it also pokes fun at itself. But it's just also that's my favorite season because you
Mine
will
too.
have this close. It's the closest thing to a slice of life JoJo's Bizarre Adventure you'll get to be because you get to see all the characters be the characters beyond just they have to fight the bad guy or they have to find the MacGuffin of the week.
Did you know, to tangent off of that, did you know that that is like perhaps arguably the most important episode in the entire season, in the entire like part four Diamonds Unbreakable?
Really, the restaurant
Yeah,
episode?
yeah, the restaurant episode, because there's like three episodes. That's one of them. Um, and the whole point it's trying to get across is that like um so like while like part one was like about chivalry and like whatever, part two was kind of about like the turn of the world, like the world's changing, and part three is like stands obviously,
Stands.
stands. Part four was about the integration and normalization of like stands into like daily life,
Yeah.
like for example, just like okay, sorry if you haven't watched. I'll try not to spoil this. If you sorry if you haven't watched part four, but here's your
Yeah,
warning.
it's one of those
Uh,
where the rule is after about 5 years, it's like okay, you were either going to get to this or you're not getting to it.
yeah,
Look, you've all been here for 18 minutes. We're gonna spoil a few things.
right,
We're not sorry.
right.
Moving on.
Like Yoshikage Kira, like would be killing people with or without his power. It's an irrelevant thing. Like and
Yeah.
like and that's the thing you're gonna notice about all the characters in like. Whereas an example in part three, people just wouldn't be doing the things they're doing if stands didn't exist.
Yeah.
In part four, there isn't a single character like who wouldn't be doing what they're doing if their stand wouldn't exist. Like they would still be doing that thing. And it's like the integration that
Yeah. No.
I want to get into like oh the person who works at a beauty salon, well yeah she has a stand but she'd still be doing that if she wasn't
Right. And
having it.
another perfect example. I'm just remembering the scene with who's the gal who eventually becomes like the young kid, the young. He's the same age as our hero, but the girlfriend boyfriend characters whose name I'm spacing. That whole bit where
Like
the episode where she kidnaps him and forces him to study.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's
yeah.
another example where you just said it perfectly. Like, yeah, she has her stand, but all of her behavior is about the same, even if she didn't have the stand.
Yeah, exactly. Like none of this matters, and like that is why like I think like that episode. This is like an episode that I think is like the most important for that show. It
Yeah.
just completely reinforces that like the stands do not matter here. They do not matter. They're an irrelevant thing to who Josuke is. They're an irrelevant thing to Yoshikage here. There are an irrelevance to the general plot. And I think this was Araki's way of saying like, hey, look, the stands are cool, but like that's not the show. That's not the story. Because
Yeah.
like fucking part three, and I will on my deathbed I'll be screaming and I'll say this. I don't like part three. I think part three is like the worst part of them all because
Yeah,
like
I wouldn't say
mhm,
100% agree with you, but I'm like I definitely can agree with it's like I agree with you. Again, I haven't seen all of them, but yeah, it's like because my problem with 3 is
it's just
we
whoa
never
power
get
levels. Whoa!
right, and we never get character development. We just get like Jotaro has big stand, and we must find Dio. What's Dio's secret? And it's like, and there are even like stand users where I'm like, ooh, even if they had like a second episode, their character would seem interesting. But I'm like, oh, you kill them off, or you put them on a bus or something. Like High Horse is then the only other example because I think High Horse comes back twice, but it's like again, yeah, it's that because he was so focused on just moving the plot along, you never get character development.
Mm-hmm. And like even then, like characters like I don't know Darby. Like what the fuck would Darby be doing in that show if stands didn't exist? Like nothing. You would be doing nothing. Like stands were like I think like someone I don't I'm sure there's a story for this that I don't know. I like probably someone told them like, hey Araki, like like fucking part two great and all, but like if you do that again, it's gonna be really fucking boring. So you gotta kind of spice it up a little bit. You gotta give us something. And
Well,
then
yeah,
he's
because
like, mhm.
he was running into kind of without knowing because I think JoJo happened before Dragon Ball Z, but it's the same problem with like that OG Dragon Ball Z had was if you just base your strength on your power level, that eventually power creep comes in. And with stands, even in 3, what made the challenges, and I think Super Eye Patch Wolf had a great quote saying something along the lines of like, even if you have a super powerful stand, you're still a squishy human. So it makes it more of a chess match instead of just a brawl.
Absolutely, yep,
Yes,
absolutely.
but we can talk about JoJo, but we're here to talk about apparently the French.
Okay, look,
Absolutely.
look, 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 look. Even I appreciate the JoJo talk. Even I am super, super gay, but there's a limit to the amount of gay I can put into this.
That's gonna
Understandable.
be a PRism. There's a limit to how much gay I can put into this.
All right. So, I actually have two quotes for Bretonnia because most of their quotes are very short.
Oh.
The first one is Bretonnia is fair and peaceful because everyone knows their place. Yours is with the truffle hounds. This is from Lord Thadric of Moraz, or literally translates in French to of moron. Um, and then the other one is, what is a knight without his steed? But what is a steed without his knight? Knight and steed, noble and peasant. On such relationship is Bretonnia built. King Louis Leoncourt. So we're gonna talk about them French peasants.
Oh, I can already feel the snootiness coming in.
Oh, there's some
There's some
snootiness.
snootiness,
It's
yeah.
Like,
pretty bad.
yeah. And also, disclaimer: without my knowledge, I like France. I've been to France, so we're gonna make probably French jokes. But I'm just gonna declare we're making specific fun about Warhammer French people.
So for a start, Bretonnia is the youngest nation in all of the old world.
Okay.
It was founded almost 1,000 years after the Empire was.
Right. I thought, and just for a refresher, Empire was the this
About 2,600 years before the end times, and Bretonnia is 1,000 years younger than they are. So Bretonnia's
The new kid on
got a
the
little
block.
time behind them. What was that, Ray?
The new kid on the block.
Yes. Ginger, what would you
No, I
did
was
you
going
have
to say
another
it's
question?
interesting because without digging too much into it, isn't in the real world, isn't the France and the French Empire and the British Empire, for discussion's sake, about the same age?
I don't think so.
No.
I'm
Okay,
pretty
then I
sure
got
the
my
French are
Um,
first.
So the French are definitely first, and part of the reason for that is the British Empire or the British Isles were fought over by 17 different peoples for centuries. And even the Romans couldn't conquer the British Isles, so they didn't have any initial unifying force to put them under.
Okay.
Which is why up until about 700 AD, there's just this age of mythos about what the British Isles were, because we don't know. We don't have enough records or information to discern. And when I say we don't have enough records, we have secondhand accounts from people who start about 600 AD of what happened before they became rulers and what was going on in the British Isles before then. But we don't know a lot about what happened between the fall of Eastern Rome and 600 AD. But in this case, Bretonnia didn't get founded until 997. And Sigmar never visited them.
Amazing.
The earliest days of Bretonnia are not even recorded. It is believed that for the longest time, until the first Chaos incursion from the Norskins, Bretonnia was a colony of the Lizard Men.
Wait, and from what I learned when we did Lizard Men, and Bretonnia, for discussion's sake, is where France is in our world, right?
Yes.
Why would the Lizard Men be in France? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they kind of owned the planet before everybody else.
You know what? You make a very good point.
But I'm going to be honest with you. We don't actually know why the Lizard Men were there. We just know that here's the world map to help
You're
you
right.
both out.
Now, also, is this one of those things, as we've run into this before, where it's we, as in the characters, don't know, but then there's also where Games Workshop has said, okay, there actually is an answer, but we're not telling you, but there is an answer. Which one is it in this case?
In this case, it is Games Workshop hasn't bothered to make up the prehistory of Bretonnia at all, so they just said the Lizard Men lived there, and then the Chaos incursion happened, and the Lizard Men left.
Okay.
We'll probably never get it now anyway.
Insert rant about me. And
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, with the first real full army box they're releasing for the old world being Bretonnia, I kind of hope we get.
They were
some
remaking the old
information.
world. No, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're remaking the old world. I'm
like
kind of like, I'm
skeptical.
really hoping.
But you know,
I'm really hoping we get some like Bretonnian prehistory here. Bretonnia later became a colony for the High Elves until the dwarves kicked them out, because dwarves got to do dwarf things.
goddamn knife ears.
This is also Bretonnia is also the site of the end of the War of the Beard, when the dwarves claimed the Phoenix Crown. It happened in Bretonnia.
Hell yeah.
Wait, was that the whole one? If I remember, we talked about this, I think, last time, where some even consider, if I'm remembering it correctly, a snooty elf, even the elves consider snooty, shaved off a dwarf's beard.
Yep, and the dwarves, after several hundred years, killed him and took the original Phoenix Crown, which the elves consider a slight on their pride, because the original Phoenix Crown is now a tourist attraction in the vaults of Karak.
And I think I made this joke last time. I just picture, the little stanchions and the little "please do not touch the glass" sign around this crown.
I really should just have that drawn where it's just like the Phoenix Crown and it just says "do not touch."
Yeah, and you have like two dwarves in like generic security guard outfits, and like I know photography doesn't exist, but like someone.
No, I would totally have like the dwarven family taking pictures.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
But now we get into the Dark Age of Bretonnia. And Reycall, feel free to cut me off at any point and
Sure.
sub in whenever you want.
Sure.
So Sigmar founded an empire, and he extended an invitation to the Breton warlords, and they told him, and I quote, "Knee." That's the only message they sent back.
How do you spell that?
NEI.
I feel already they're referencing Monty Python.
Yes.
No, wait, was it
Amazing.
like, okay, now I'm picturing their message, some grand, parchment that they always in medieval times send out, and they're expecting some long message, and the person opens it up and all they go is knee, and then close it.
I don't know what I was
Yes.
expecting.
The Greenskins lived there as well, so the orcs and goblins, that was a constant problem. Their population reaching critical levels, and then the Bretonnian warlords would have to get together and beat down the impending orc war. That eventually, also we can directly blame the Bretonnians for the big fat goblin guy. You remember him?
Yeah, the one who was kind of interesting. Yes, him.
Yeah. He's he came from Bretonnia.
Right, because he was originally a goblin, right?
Yep, he was a goblin. He ate a troll.
Yep, him.
I can never remember this man's name. I wish my memory wasn't this bad sometimes. Grom the Paunch.
Yeah.
He's from Bretonnia. The Bretonnians actually drove him over the Misty Mountains, where he then went into the Empire and besieged Altdorf and turned it into a racetrack.
Yeah, and then left because he got bored.
Exclusively, the only reason he left, he got bored.
Amazing.
At the same time that all of this is going on, a man called Cetra the Imperishable, who is a Tomb King.
Does the
We're
funny
gonna get to
thing.
Tomb Kings at some point, aren't we, Fee?
Yes, we
The
are.
Tomb
He
King's
does
like,
the funny.
oh my god, set up so much of the goddamn plot.
They do. In this case, no sooner than they had driven Grom and Garbad out of Bretonnia, that he showed up and started rampaging through their realms, looking for an unknown magical artifact. He literally showed up to find a MacGuffin.
Amazing.
And killed everyone who was alive in his way.
Do we at least know what the MacGuffin did, or was just he's looking for a thing and he doesn't care?
He's looking for a thing.
Insert rant about Warhammer writing sometimes, but go on.
Oh, absolutely.
And so while all this is happening, we have a knight named Giles.
Oh boy.
And Giles
Yeah.
is taking a minute to rest at a lake.
Cool.
And so he kneels down and prays by the lakeside and drinks from the extremely pure waters. These waters are crystal clear to the point they described the water was so clear that if not for the ripples from the tides, you would have not noticed it was water. At which point, a large mist comes up, and a strikingly beautiful maiden comes out of the mist and gives him a blessing.
Oh, why is this that? Why this is we all know the scene from Monty Python that's now playing in our head, and the Holy Grail, the whole one. Well, how did you become a king? And then he goes on telling the Lady of the Lake. That whole thing.
Well, in this case, he took his blood-stained, tattered banner, dipped it into the lake, and when he pulled it out, it was completely restored and absolutely dry, and now had the icon of a golden grail emblazed upon it.
Okay.
She then brought forth a chalice that flowed with liquid light, at which time Giles and his companions drank from it, becoming the first ever Grail Knights.
Now, I'm sure you might go into it. So the guy's name was Guile?
Giles.
Giles.
It
Okay,
sounds more
you might
fledged than
go.
that, but
You
yeah.
might go into it, but does Giles did he do anything spectacularly great, or like what did he do to deserve to get this blessing?
Giles was a sort of a noble of a barony, and he was fighting a greenskin horde. And so while he was fighting this greenskin horde, his armies and his men were at the breaking point. They were marching to what would have effectively been their doom. And the lady in the lake just saw like like he prayed like in literally for like as I remember being described, he in a sheer like madness sort of was like, lady like bless my organ, bless my shit, he just was like a guy, and then he's like, guys, check this out, just trying to inspire his men, and it just kind of worked. It like I don't think he thought it was gonna work. I don't think he even knew what he was just making shit up. But then the shit he made up came real, kind of, and he pulled out this banner, and his banner was restored because they were already like weary from fighting the greenskin hordes for like forever, and like they were going to perish. They were going to perish, and the lady of the lake blessed him, restored his vigor, invigorated the rest of his army, and mind you, didn't bless the rest of his army. He just like kind of like gave him a like or like bless him, but she didn't make him Grail Knights or nothing.
She did the equivalent of gave everyone a mana and a health potion, basically.
Yeah, they're considered the first Grail Knights, but they didn't actually go on a Grail quest. They didn't do all the stuff that's required to normally become a Grail Knight. However, because of this blessing and the inspiration given, it is said that he and his two companions on the next day, after their victory on the Greenskins, had killed as many of the Greenskins as the rest of his army put together. Make of that what you will.
That's an impressive number.
Supposedly, also afterwards, the lady appeared before Giles in his private chamber and bestowed upon him and Marcus the Holy Grail, and thus they became the fourth and fifth Grail companions. And Marcus turned that chamber within his castle into a Grail chapel, and it is the first site of a Grail chapel to this day.
Cool. The side question: does the Lady of the Lake ever get like proper lore to her, or is she just this? I come, I bless you, and then I peace out.
Yes.
She gets proper lore.
Okay,
A lot of people don't like it though.
Although I will say, I did look this up. There is an actual Bretonnian who was walking by the lake who got beamed in the head with a sword by the Lady of the Lake and became a questing knight. You're just walking along. Wham! Huh? Go quest. Okay.
Sounds like a Skyrim or Morrowind quest where you're just walking along and you just, or even like in Yakuza where you're just walking along and you stumble into the story or a side quest.
We then have the Bretonnian Civil War.
What? Damn it! How many civil? Okay, another goddamn civil war. Is it more ridiculous than the Pie War?
No, it is not more ridiculous than 500,000 people dying because someone wanted to call something a tart.
What was the Civil War over?
The Bretonnian unification.
Wait, so there was a civil war over unification?
Yes.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Basically, that guy Giles kind of like, or not. I don't know if it was Giles or not, but basically, sort of forcing everybody like, "Hey, we're a thing. We're a thing together now." And obviously, a fair few people didn't like that.
Yeah. So Giles went out to try to unify Bretonnia under the Lady of the Lake, who over the course of this war was molded to become called the Fey Enchantress.
Okay.
Because she had made the forests of Bretonnia her home. Side note, everyone outside of Warhammer just highly suspects the Fey Enchantress is just a very manipulative elf. Giles rode out. He ravaged through the dukedom of Carcassonne, besieged Quenelles, forced every lord to bend the knee or cast them down as it's called. What he really means is they either bent the knee or he killed them. He failed to defend the Forest of Lauren, which is why the Wood Elves now hate the Bretonnians utterly for the last 1,500 years, is because they failed to defend the forest and the orcs burned it down.
Amazing.
Quick side question. Does anyone in this universe have a one-syllable name? Do we have any Dans or any Bobs? Or does everyone have like 3, 4, 5, 7
If you are
names?
actually, this is a faction with definitely people with one-syllable names. Welcome to being a peasant for the Bretonnians.
There's literally people in Bretonnia. This is actually in like the Bretonnian Warhammer Fantasy roleplay book. There's literally a Bretonnian peasant name that's just G-A. That's your entire name.
If you think living in the old world is like a bad experience, or anywhere in Warhammer Fantasy is a bad experience, it is 10 times worse if you are a Bretonnian peasant. Like the experience of living in Warhammer is, I swear, like I don't know how much you know about like 40K, but like everything that's awful about for like regular humans in 40K was definitely inspired by everything that's awful for humans for regular people in Bretonnia.
Yeah, we've covered a little bit, so I have a general idea of like, unless you luck out and are a elf or luck out and you're in
Big enough, lucky.
halfling. I keep Freudian slip with tieflings. Goddamn. Halfling society. Yeah, most of the societies, unless you're high noble or whatever, yeah, life kind of sucks.
Life definitely
So,
sucks.
The Bretonnian Civil War rages for 70 years.
Okay.
And is interfered on by goblins, orcs. Notice I say goblins separately. Skaven. Marauders from Norska. Factions of Chaos. At one point, 2 different Tomb Kings. A vampire count known as the Red Prince. And for absolute, just we got to put some icing on the top of this, the Vampire Pirates.
Fortune favors the infamous.
Oh, hail the mighty, he's arising from the deep. Great tattered sails and incredible tales we're caught in the sea.
There we go. The Vampire Pirates quota has been met.
And that's just getting through the Civil War part. Then we get to the actual founding a kingdom.
The quick question. Okay, so oh no, I answered my own question about where I looked on the map. I was like, how did the Vampire Pirates get involved? And then I just looked where Bretonnia is. I'm like, oh, it's by the ocean. Okay.
It's by the ocean, and you see that place called Sartosa? That's the head capital for all vampires.
Oh.
Oh, and the other faction that they had to push out of Bretonnia were the people of Albion.
Shame we've never gotten any good lore about that.
We don't have a ton of good lore about them, but they were referred to as the Pale Sisters. They were driven into the mountainous region where they still have some of their residing, but also they brought word to the Bretonnians as a sign of peace that another greenskin horde was on the way during the war, so the knights could assemble and go take them out. But in the meantime, you get through all of that, through a civil war from hell, and finally, Giles, who's at this point old as dirt, is dubbed the Uniter and given the blessing to become the first Royarch. Royarch being the Bretonnian version of I am king.
Mm-hmm.
So wait. So a bunch of people agreed that he was now the king.
No, the Fey Enchantress and the lady,
okay.
aka the Lady of the Lake, told him it was.
Okay.
And the Lady of the Lake and the Fey Enchantress are still believed to be 2 different people at this point. And later it's going to become obvious that they're the same person.
This is literally, again, the line from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Well, I didn't vote for you.
Giles would serve as Royarch for 17 years before he was killed by orcs in an ambush.
cowardly ranged combat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we would.
From this moment on, all ranged combat was considered a coward's doing.
Wait, hold on. So, wait, Bretonnia believes ranged combat is cowardly.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my god.
No.
Okay,
A very
stupid
important
hour.
preface is that it's only cowardly for knights. That's a very,
Okay.
very important distinction.
Okay, that
If
takes
you-
the level of stupidity down a bunch of notches. It's still stupid, but it makes it go from this is absolute stupid to like, okay, that's just stupid.
If you are a peasant or a man at arms, you're fine to use ranged combat because you're not a knight.
You're
Okay.
not
But
expected to
the
follow
knights will look
chivalry.
down. The knights will look down on you and criticize you for using it, though.
The knights will look down on you and criticize you for anything, anyways. So
I
world
already
stays the
tell
same.
I can already tell the knights can fuck off.
The knights can fuck off. The nobles can fuck right off. Anyone like they are the worst kind of people.
So, with the death of Giles, Lewis, his only recognized son, was crowned the next duke. However, when he attempted to say he was king of Bretonnia,
It was
he was rejected.
Yep. Only he. Well, go on. I was doing the play. I was like, yeah, he's rejected.
He had to get a regent because all of the knights and the dukes came to the conclusion that no knight, no noble by birthright, no one could be lord over all of Bretonnia without blessings from the Fey Enchantress and having drank of the cup of the Lady of the Lake.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, because there's so many people that fit that qualification. Also, side note, before only recognized son, I'm assuming there's rumors that he's had bastard children. The original
Every single time a new Bretonian king shows up, there's 7 bastards that show up minimum.
Dude, the Bretonians just like, do they just literally fuck?
I'm sure they have a lot of in a word I don't want to use, but yes.
Yeah, they're just laying pipe all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some interesting
They are awful
ideas of chivalry. Also, they what's the term called?
What's the term you're looking for, or at least the definition?
Oh yeah, Bretonnian nobles have prima nocta.
What?
Yeah, they just straight up have prima.
No, I
prima
don't know what
nocta.
that is.
people.
Oh,
They get to consummate the marriage.
yeah. If prima nocta or prima noctis is the idea that a noble can bed a wife of a recently married husband to consummate the marriage for him.
What? What? Wait.
That's a thing that
what?
exists in the real world, by the way.
What? I'm sure it existed in the real world, but wait. So to put it into normal terms, so I'll just use myself as an example. So I get married in this scenario. I get married. A knight can have sex with my wife to make the marriage legitimate.
Yes,
Okay.
at his discretion, not yours.
There's so many things wrong with that. We don't have enough time, so I'm just gonna say that statement.
It actually in our real world, it's the reason for the first and second Scottish rebellions.
Again, there's just so much I could say, but if we do that, this podcast will go very long, and I don't want this one to go stupid long. So I'm just gonna say I disagree with it on just so many fucking levels.
Absolutely. Remember, the knights are awful people. The nobles are awful people. They are. It is wildly believed by this isn't even just a thing that what's it called, the a play, the fan base just sort of knows and agrees about that the fucking Bretonians are the worst human beings. No, the rest of the setting knows that the Bretonians are awful people. The empire will go like, Jesus fucking Christ,
So-
what is wrong
So
with
they're
you
the
people?
human version of the Skaven, basically.
No, they are the literal, not figurative, literal, exact interpretation of medieval chivalry. They are chivalric in code, but not in practice at all. So they try to put on the appearance of what we think of chivalry in terms of medieval fantasy ideas. But in medieval practice, chivalry is just another method of control where they get to do horrible things and get away with it and no one can touch them.
Let's keep going on this, because if we stay on this topic, I am going to probably break something.
Anyway, Louis did eventually became known as Louis the Rash. He became the first Bretonnian king after he had gotten his blessings from the two ladies, and was presented with a golden crown gifted by the Fey Enchantress herself. So remember that golden crown part. Remember that.
Okay.
Also, it's an important thing to note that their first king was perhaps their only good king.
He went out of his way to establish a code of chivalry and enforce it, even on himself. There are 3 instances where Louis the Rash stood as defendant in court for his crimes and had to pay for them.
Okay, that's at least somewhat interesting on a principle way, where he does not go, "Oh, I'm insert politician here," where it's like, "Oh, I'm immune from this." Where he goes, "Okay, fine, I fucked up, I'll pay for it." At least from a principle aspect, that's kind of interesting.
He was able to get the Wood Elves to agree to a delineation line between the Wood Elf nation of Lothaloran and Bretonnia. Further, he was able to get them to agree to an alliance against common enemies of orcs and Skaven and undead.
And this was the one that they initially went, "Oh, you don't have the blessing of the Lady of the Lake," yet he's a
Yes.
So okay, so this is interesting. If what I'm understanding is, this is kind of almost, without going, has very, in a good way, has like anime protagonist energy, where everyone keeps saying you're not legitimate, you're not good, and then he at least proves, at least from what you guys are telling me, he's proving, no, I'm a good person. I am actually the one fit to do this.
Yes.
In
So
reality, actually, most people didn't actually not want what's his name, Louis, whatever his name is, to not be king. They all kind of like said, because the reality dawned upon them very quickly that like either this kid is king or we're all gonna kill ourselves. And so they all like, okay, fine, we'll make this kid king, and they all kind of abided by it. But then they was like, okay, but like, listen, we can't just make a fucking idiot king. They gotta like they gotta be cool. They gotta be like us, you know. They gotta be one of us. And they're like, all right, fine. Kid, go do the thing. We need you to do the thing. So like it was very much actually like
it's
the lords did want him to be king. The lords knew very, very well that if he was not king, every other lord was kind of like ready for it. They're like, it's ours.
they were all
ours.
ready to cut each other's
It's
throat to be
ours.
king.
And so like they kind of just like they actually, the Bretonians, for as awful people as they are to their serfs and peasantry, are not stupid. They are the furthest thing from stupid. They're actually fairly, like, even their cruelty towards their peasantry, as awful as it is, has a reason. Not a, like, it's not a, it's a good reason. It's not a reason I kind of
Right,
would
there's
like,
a
but it's a
logic
good
to it.
reason.
It's not a rational. Yeah, I
It's
get what you're
rational.
saying.
See, the thing is, well, if we just keep okay, so it's illegal to read for peasantry. It's illegal to own arms. It's illegal to do just about anything. And the reason behind it is like, well, these fucking idiots will never be able to like have a chaos incursion. They'll never be able to do anything against us if we just keep them as stupid as it can be. Just keep them as worthless and down in the dirt as they can be, so that if they ever even try, like, it's just like, okay, we're just gonna walk up there and slap their ass down. Like,
Yeah, again, not saying it's a good thing that they're doing it, but you can see
the logic.
It's kind of like, this is a bit of a stretch. It's like, seen Gurren Lagann.
Of course, it's my favorite anime.
Yeah, so the whole bit why the ruler we find out later why. And again, spoilers. This show's over 10 years old, so
So,
if you haven't,
Yeah,
seen
you had your chance. You had your chance, idiot.
you had your chance to watch Gurren Lagann.
Turn off the stream now. Like, don't do that. But you
Yeah,
know,
right. Go watch it. But basically, why he is being so suppressive to everyone on Earth and like making it so the population doesn't grow, because we then find out, oh, if the population hits this number, alien invasion and bad stuff. So while he probably could have gone about it a better way, we see he's trying to do it to protect. It's complicated, but summarizing a very complicated plot. Anyways.
Mhm. Yep, exactly that.
So, then we have the Bretonians' first war abroad. They went to war with Talea. Remember the merchants who hired the orcs to beat up the orcs?
Yeah, that was an interesting. They're in kind of what we would consider like Venice.
They're gonna have their own episode. They are very, very crafty.
Oh, they have that
But
much lore. Okay, let's go.
The Talaeans in this case went to war over a town called Rivola. Rivola is famed for its vineyards and its wine, to the point of which Rivolan wine is actually the highest priced wine in the Empire. Elves don't make as good a wine as these people.
Do halflings.
Halflings have to get the grapes from Rivola to make the wine better.
Oh, okay. So, Rivola, where is that? Just so I'm looking on the map for context.
It is a small village north of Margarita.
So my brain's going Margaritaville now. So, anyways, but in what is the closest equivalent in like real world? Where would it be if it was in our world?
France.
Southern France.
Okay, cool. Continue.
It's like the island of Corsica wine.
Okay.
But so what happened from here was they agreed to attempt a peace accord. At which time, during the peace accord, the arrogant Bretonians declared themselves better knights than any Talaean in existence, and that they should just hand over the land at once and be done with it. In return, one of the mercenary companies slapped the knight with his gauntlet. You know the Bugs Bunny meme where he just like takes the whole gauntlet and just whacks somebody across the face?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oof.
And in return, the Bretonians challenged them to a joust. They had to explain the rules of the joust to the Talaeans, including the fact that you can't use enchanted weaponry. So, the Talaeans agreed. And the Bretonians were so arrogant that because no Bretonian women were at the joust, they were asking for favors from the Talaean women who were present in droves. Because Bretonnia is sexist.
But I'm assuming, so just to get the name, so Bretonnia versus who?
Talea.
Talea, and I'm assuming the Talaean women did not take this lying down.
Oh, the Bretonians are about to be shamed.
All right, let's fucking go.
The Bretonians were losing badly. And then one of the Bretonian heralds took a look at the broken Talaean lances and ventured over to the judge and angrily shouted the Talaean lances were longer than the Bretonian ones. To which an unknown Talaean lady standing near the judges shouted, "Yes, we know."
It's like that meme where everyone's just going, "Oh."
Yeah, super hot fire, like, oh!
Oh, yeah.
The Bretonians, so embarrassed, left and have not ever returned. Instead, they sailed across the ocean to Warhammer Africa and have been going on a crusade against Araby.
Wait, who?
So if you look at the map and you go from Talea down, you'll notice this big thing that says Araby.
Now, and also that conflict was over just because they wanted to get wine.
Yes,
that was it. Nothing more.
Yes. So they have the Great Crusade to retake and Bretonify Araby, and they're fighting the Sultan Jafar from Aladdin. This isn't even a. I'm not. There's no joke here. They're literally just fighting Jafar if he had power,
Okay.
including the genies and jinn and all the other things that he has in his army.
Uh,
His and his hordes of. And I'm gonna read this, and I want you to understand when I read this, it is exactly what it says on the tin. Loyal slave warriors.
You said the moments I wish this was a video podcast because I am my hands are in my face and I am rubbing my forehead. These are the moments I want to stop, walk over to Games Workshop, find the person who wrote that, grab the book in which that is there, and just slap them over the head a couple of times.
It's also really important to understand that like Warhammer, it has some serious themes, but
Yeah.
like it is actually like primarily meant to be taken as a joke.
Yes,
Like-
and I
like-
understand.
like,
No, I understand some of that.
There's cockney green boys, like nothing serious. Everything's a joke. In a lot, I mean, everything's a joke, but obviously some things are serious. But you get the point. Like,
Yeah, no, I get the point, but it's just like there are moments where it's just like, yes, there, and we can.
Well, you'll be happy to know
Mm-hmm.
that during the Great Crusade, at the Battle of El Haik, Jafar is slain by a Bretonnian lance in a desperate final charge that shatters his army because he was relying on all of the spirits and genies he had summoned to help overwhelm the Bretonnians.
Okay. Well,
However, the Bretonnians don't like the harsh desert, decided not to rule it, and sailed back home after they killed Jafar. Jafar also placed a curse on them. That means that the land of Astalia is independent now because the Bretonnians can't go there because it's haunted against them.
well, I
Amazing.
heard all of that. I'm just processing that.
He cursed the land, so any Bretonnian who goes there gets haunted by ghosts.
You can't. And
ooh,
yeah, I know, but here's where my brain goes. I'm like, okay, you could simply get around that curse by like, okay, you who's not Bretonnian, I'm going to hire you to act on my behalf. Or the Bretonnians sew up their own ass. They wouldn't
they
even
are.
do that.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that. I don't think they would.
They are so far up their own ass, they've managed to come out of their mouth and start talking again.
Yeah, that sounds like these people. Okay.
This is why we have what's called the Border Princes region. Estalia, Talea, and the Border Princes are all these three regions. Is because of the various problems in that area that Bretonnia just doesn't want to deal with. So they just went, screw it, you're all independent, and left, and have left them alone. So that's why Talea still exists. That's why Estalia exists, and that's why the Border Princes have not been conquered. Is because of all of the goblins, Skaven, vampire pirates, haunting Djinn. And the various other things that I could list off that exist there that is just like, this is just not a good place to live. We should just leave. And everyone's too stubborn to do that. What was that, Ray?
No, it's like we must leave.
Yes. And that is the short version of the Bretonnian history. Right up until the Pirate Wars.
Now, quick pause without jumping ahead too much. Do they ever get their French Revolution, or does that never happen?
You wish.
We wish it
Okay,
happened.
so no, it doesn't happen. Okay, go on.
Admittedly, like the old world is like in the sense of like for the things that they have to deal with, like for humankind as a whole, the world is better off with the knights existing. Because make no mistake, the knights are powerful. They are gods. They are like gods on the battlefield. Like one of them is worth like fucking like 100 of the best Empire Net warriors. Like they're gods. Like I'm just talking about like the worst knights. Like the worst knights are like 100 of the like we get to like other dudes like fucking named knights like people who are like like are actual characters and shit, or like people who like an actual Grail knight like or a Pegasus knight. These people are like Jesus. Don't
Yeah,
talk to
you
them.
should.
Don't look at them. Don't look at them. Like it is described and said that a Grail Knight will step onto the battlefield full of like undead, and any lesser undead will immediately just dissipate. They will die just from the Grail Knight stepping onto the field.
Yeah. They are
They're holy, they're
they're
powerful, and yeah,
they're exceptional in combat. But man, are they dicks.
they're dicks. And I guess, when you are that powerful, like, what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna tell us to stop? And that's how that goes.
And we can't do. I'm going to defeat you with the power of friendship and this gun I found.
No.
Well, we want to do that to them.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That you unfortunately don't get that, power of friendship to then defeat. Yes, but anyways, I'm sidetracking us. So okay, so we have the powerful knights that can face undead, but they're absolute dicks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The last major war Bretonnia is involved in is the Pirate Wars, which they won. They soundly defeated the pirate fleet, destroyed it. It is said that so many pirates were killed that during the high tide of the next day, bodies could be seen from horizon to horizon washing up on shore.
Now, whose navy did they destroy?
They destroyed the human pirate navy.
Could care less.
Are you ready for what this accomplished?
What did this accomplish? Let me guess. Fuck all?
Despite major victories, despite massive losses on the side of the pirates, and despite the siege of Sartosa, which did not actually take the city, there was no long-term decline in piracy whatsoever. If anything, piracy went up.
Yeah.
Because of this war.
It's like quote unquote piracy with media. It's the same thing.
After years of the pirate wars, the undead pirates arrived and resurrected all the dead pirates and brought their ships back up from the bottom of the ocean, resulting in a massive rise in piracy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you went to war with piracy and you just made more pirates and then made them undead.
Well, yeah, it's the great. I don't know how much this applies to this kind of piracy, but it's at least within media. It's like how you get rid of piracy is you make the legal way to do something easier than piracy.
Yes.
Case in point, Steam had pretty much. Yeah, sorry, we could go
Right.
off topic on that, but let's focus back to like these pirates. Yeah, so
Now-
so the undead rise is that again the vampire zombie pirates, or are these just regular undead pirates?
It's the undead vampire coast pirates and one of the most well-known necromancers, Heinrich Kelmer. Yes, his name is literally an allegory for Heinrich Himmler. And Heinrich went off and got the Skaven to ally with him to try to march on Bretonnia.
Well,
It didn't work out so well.
Yeah, I know enough about the Skaven already from that one episode. Like, no, Skaven are way too paranoid.
It is believed he died on the battlefield by the in-world lore, but it turns out no, he just resurrected himself and is off plotting his revenge against Bretonnia even now.
Well, yeah, you said he was a necromancer, of course.
And that's the last of the Bretonnian history.
That's it.
So,
I feel you would.
that's it.
I feel that feels weirdly small.
There's more. There is more.
Oh, okay.
There's more. We've glossed over a few things. They've had to fight dark elves. They've had the dark elves return for round 2 on a blood crusade to try to enslave all of Bretonnia. That was short lived. There was a problem with someone imprisoning the Fey Enchantress and creating a fake Holy Grail for a while.
It's
You're just
important to note two things. Oh yeah, go ahead.
You're just mentioning what sounds like almost anime filler episodes now.
A little bit. It's also important to note that two things kind of like prevent the lore of three things really. prevent the lore of like history for Bretonnia being so big. They are the youngest nation. They do have less time to cook overall. Like, and that's just like canonically, there just isn't as much time for them to do things. B, they're not an expansionist nation. Like, despite the fact that they're assholes, they don't actually really ever want to leave their area because they're just intrinsically tied to their area. Their whole thing as Grail Knights is like we're just like guardians. We are literally the only reason we have this power is because our queen, well not queen, sorry, our Lady of the Lake, like basically just says like protect this place, and we're like, all right, I guess we're doing that.
Okay, no,
So inherent,
yeah. Mhm.
it
No,
just
that
puts
does make
them.
sense when you're not when you know, like perfect example is in real life, the British Empire has so much history because again, it went out and claimed places it shouldn't have. But regardless of the ethics of that, that does create history and conflict and story. While if, I don't know, insert whatever country in the real world that did not have that, like to my knowledge, this is what little knowledge I have. Switzerland is a perfect example of a not expansion nation where they've kind of stayed about their borders, stayed about that. And, we can make jokes about World War II, but it's like there's not too much in terms of history. You wouldn't have to need encyclopedias. You could probably put the history of Switzerland into one book.
Yep. Yep. And the last thing that kind of like prevents the lore about Bretonnia being so big is that the history lore about Bretonnia being so big is that the history of Bretonnia is relatively not as important as their daily going ons are.
Hmm.
Like there's a lot more to like it's a faction with a lot of like obviously self turmoil and like fucking a lot of the characters are like a lot of the stories are about people going on quests and adventures. It really is like the faction of like we are adventurers, because the questing nights exist and things like that, and like it's all about like a very self-contained story. The Bretonians almost don't fit into the rest of the setting because
Okay.
the things they do don't affect other people as much as you know what the elves do, what the
Or like the
lizardmen
orcs,
do.
right? Orcs is another example where they wreck everyone's shit, so that affects them.
But yeah, like the orcs are involved in everybody's story because the orcs are just assholes to everybody. Like the Skaven have the Skaven also kind of don't have that much history either because most of their like lore is about how much they fuck each other up.
Yeah,
And
how paranoid they all are. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's a lot of that. It's a lot of that. There's a lot to like really unpack about like just the self stories of the Bretonians. Like just Bretonians. They
Okay,
what they do.
so we've gone, yeah, we've gotten the history of it. So what's next?
Well, next would be hey Ginger, are you sponsored by anybody this week?
Sure. All right. I live in a state that seems to have a lot of CBD this, CBD that. Well, let me introduce you to Mango Bango, the newest CBD drink. For those who want all this energy of an energy drink, but you want that nice high feeling. The disclaimer says the CBD does not have the same amount of highness that THC does, but you get that high. That's cool. Mango Bango, do stupid things while slightly high. Who's your sponsor, Fee?
Ginger, have you ever had one of those fancy voice actor microphones?
Yes, I'm technically speaking into one right now.
Now, have you ever wondered, does it matter what pop filter you get for it?
Yeah, Fee, I have a degree in recording, so yeah, it does.
Well, I'd like to welcome you to Box Maker. We'll make a microphone for your box. Wait. I'm sorry. There's literally a company out there trying to convince YouTubers that they'll make a specialized sound box for your microphone and what they're really making is just a box that it doesn't do what they say it does. It's just...
So this is where that breaks down. So someone who has, as I mentioned, I legitimately do have a degree in music production, and there are things, because obviously what you in most like your big professional studios, whether it be voice acting, music, there is something called a vocal booth. It is a it's treated, as it says, treated booth with all this foam and all these things to make it so it's a very quote unquote dead sound. Because in recording, typically, especially with vocals, drums a different story, but vocals, you want it to be a very quote unquote dry and clinical, because that way you can add things like reverb, make it sound like a big cavern, or add delay or whatever effect you want to do for the song. So you want that. And there's obviously, to make a vocal booth can sometimes cost a lot of money. And there are more affordable versions where you just have kind of this half circle thing. But yeah, sometimes there's just something that's just this belongs on infomercial hour.
Anyway,
Yes.
Reycall, do you have a do you have a sponsor? Do you have a quote sponsor for this for us?
A quote sponsor from my favorite service, Tap Tape. Have you ever wanted to edit your videos and get advertised every single second of that experience on your mobile device? Well, look no further. No further. Tap Tape will make sure you see a fucking ad at every fucking instance of every single edit of every single moment you do. We used to be a really great app, and we still are. We just put ads into every single part of the experience.
I have I will admit I kind of go into the consumerism. I pay for YouTube Premium. I remember when it was called, no, or is it they calling it Red? I forget at some point.
Yeah, I gotta get I get that. That's fine.
Yeah, because I'm like,
that.
no, I consume a lot of stuff
That's
on
not fine, but-
YouTube. I don't want to get ads on there. I'm sorry, like my life's I'm not that cheap. Life's too short to have to deal with ads. But like I have a secondary browser for other things, and I'll like someone will send me a link on that, and then I open up an ad. I'm like, oh god, I forgot how obnoxious these ads can be.
Fucking
I just want to point out that Adobe has apparently had a discussion about putting ads into Photoshop and Premiere Pro, and I'm just staring at it like, no.
Fee, one of these days
No.
you're gonna have to make the switch over to DaVinci Resolve and GIMP, and you're gonna have to do it one of these days, Fee.
I know. I don't wanna.
Yeah, Fee, I will gladly teach you any problem, and I understand we've had this talk before, but it's one of those. The sooner you do it. Also, DaVinci Resolve is free. There's a
And it's
paid
so
version,
good.
but yeah, like I use DaVinci Resolve. I use the paid version, but literally the only difference between the free and the paid version is it like gives you access to like a couple of extra
Presets.
plugins. But if all you're doing is very basic video editing, you don't notice the difference. And like the CEO of Blackmagic Design, like the reason he says the reason why he makes DaVinci Resolve free is for several reasons. One, when he first made it, he got so pissed off, like all these other companies, even at the time, he made Resolve like 10, 15 years ago. He didn't code it, but he got it started because he was so sick of the subscription model where he basically says it feels like you're paying protection money from the mob. And the reason he says the other reason why he makes DaVinci Resolve free is like, I want my customers to grow with us. So if you look at the DaVinci Resolve pipeline, you can start building from it. But if all you want to do is like, hey, I just made a simple video, and you don't need all this complicated stuff, the free version of DaVinci Resolve works just as well. Not sponsored, but would gladly take that sponsor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
back to so what's the next part we're going to be talking about these people. We've done their history.
We're gonna get into general Bretonian society.
Awful.
I'm willing to bet. Remember, you gave me that number, and I keep forgetting the number. Like X amount of people have to be in abject poverty for someone to be able to be in the military.
There are 4,000 people in the Empire for every Imperial greatsword that exists.
I'm guessing that first numbers in Bretonnia is going to be a whole lot higher.
So I'm gonna read you a quote from an Imperial official ambassador to Bretonnia.
Okay.
We have political systems like this in the Empire. We call them protection rackets.
Big oof.
Bretonian society, culture, all of it is based on outdated, archaic, decentralized feudalism.
All of it.
Oh my god. In an
All
era,
of it.
in an era where I'm assuming everything else that isn't a, chaos society like orcs is no longer doing feudalism. They're like, okay, feudalism is cringe.
Yeah, by and large.
Bretonia has gone all in on it, to the point that even the attempted emergence of a middle class has resulted in them cracking down and forcing the middle class to guildify to join guilds.
Feudalism is cringe.
The basic principle says if you are born a peasant, you will die a peasant. This is Bretonia.
Bretonnia. Okay, we've now found the Skaven were my least favorite race. Bretonnia is my least favorite section of this world right now.
Yeah, no, they really should be. Like, at least the other races are like gonna kill you, you know. They'll just one of the best things I've heard about a Bretonnian peasant is if a Bretonnian peasant is lucky, his life will be short, and that's just that short. His
So,
life will be short.
by royal tradition, a king of Bretonia must be a Grail Knight selected from a conclave of Grail Knights, and is only legitimized if the Fey Enchantress, who is the holy representative of the Lady of the Lake now. Remember how they were two separate people? Now it's the representative of, and eventually it becomes they're one and the same. Well, guess what?
What?
She has to also legitimize the choice of King of Bretonia, and the choice must be unanimous.
Oh my!
If you have one person go no, you don't get to be King of Bretonia.
Oh my god! Oh, and that's a recipe for nothing changing. Oh my! Like this is me not getting pissed off at the writing, but this is me just being like, yeah, Bretonia can
Even the Dwarven Kingdom has referred to the Bretonians as stubborn.
Oh, that's that. You're gonna need a gallon of ointment for that burn. But then, okay, here's my question: if Bretonia, why hasn't then not collapsed, or why has there not been a revolt or
The Grail
plunge?
Knights.
The
The Grail Knights.
The Grail Knights. I want to emphasize this point. By the time you become a Grail Knight, you are covered head to toe in enchanted armor, magical items you have found along the way. Your sword literally lights with holy fire.
You are a god among mortals throughout the entire world.
Further, it is firmly believed that all Bretonian knights serve the code of chivalry and honor, even though they don't.
Honor, in air quotes.
The 7 commandments of chivalry are: you must serve the Lady of the Lake, you must defend the domain entrusted to you, you must protect the weak and fight for the right, always fight the enemies of virtue and order, never give up a fight until the foe is defeated, never break faith with a friend or ally, and always display honor and courtesy. And then you have the rules for honor. A knight must fight in hand-to-hand combat with a sword or lance. They may not use missile weapon, mace, or axe.
Oh my god!
It's not just missile weapons. You won't see a Bretonian knight using a mace, axe, a flail, or anything else but a sword or a lance.
Okay, I see why the dwarves call these morons stubborn. Oh my god!
Beyond belief.
These make the Norska people look open-minded.
A knight must always accept a challenge towards personal combat, and I wish to point out that there is a Bretonnian king who was forced to abdicate because he accepted a challenge of personal combat to a game of chess, and he lost.
Now, quick bit. Now, challenge: could a woman do it, or is it worded only men?
No!
No.
Okay, let's go.
Women are not only not allowed to become knights, they are banned from the royal court altogether.
Fuck off! I misinterpreted that, but now fuck off.
You cannot stand in public as a woman in the court of royals except the queen, and she must remain silent unless the king gives her permission to speak.
Can I just start? Oh my god, this pushes all of Scott's like fuck you buttons. Fuck you, assholes, and your fucking holy swords. Fuck you.
Now for the reason why they haven't had a civil war. A knight shall never draw his sword against fellow Bretonnian knights except in trial by combat or within the grounds of an agreed upon tournament. What this means is, if you lead a rebellion, everyone turns on you.
Okay, also, so the quick pause before I forget. Who's the... She's like one of the most famous women knight soldiers in history, but was burned at the stake for being a witch.
Joan of Arc?
Joan of Arc. So we never get a Joan of Arc.
We're gonna get to Joan of Arc.
All right, cool. Okay.
She's my hero.
Okay, let's...
Not the Warhammer version, but the real life version.
Right, but do we... Okay, so I can get disappointed now. So Bretonnia never gets their Joan of Arc.
They get a Joan of Arc.
Okay, cool. Okay.
A knight shall never allow himself to be captured in combat alive. A knight shall not flee from the enemy nor retreat without proper tactical cause.
Okay.
But mind you, they do actually like assess the situation.
It's
They're
like,
not they're not stupid.
Right. It goes back to the whole myth during World War II about during No Step Back. It's like, and even a historian has gone, no, yeah, there might have been instances, but even they knew, yeah, sometimes retreat is the best option.
Correct. You have the 12 dukedoms. There are 3 lost dukedoms.
What?
Moselin, which was lost during the affair with the False Grail, and has resulted in the vampire Red Prince Maldred ruling over no one being able to claim his throne now.
So the throne is empty?
It's a throne that sits empty, but it's believed that a vampire may rule it.
Okay, I'm sure we'll go into more details when we get to vampires, but anyways.
You have Colex, which was lost, which was so badly ravaged during the Dark Ages of Bretonnia, before Bretonnia was founded, that no one wants it anymore.
So it's Detroit.
Yes, it's Bretonnia, Detroit. And you have Glam Burrell, which was another one that was ravaged during the Dark Ages, which has such a bad problem with greenskins and beastmen showing up that they just they were just like nope, no one actually lives here. It's just goblins.
No one here but us goblins.
Pretty much.
And these aren't the goblins that unionized.
No, these are not the goblins.
My favorite goblins, though.
That's fair. Bretonnia is very, 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 very religious.
What a surprise.
Everyone worships the Lady of the Lake.
Ooh, well, hold on. Every night worships.
Every night worships the Lady of the Lake. And peasants pay homage to the Lady of the Lake by requirement, but don't necessarily worship them. There are cults of Ulrich and Sigmar, but they're few and far between.
There is another goddess in there. I forget her name.
Fae Enchantress.
No,
So
no,
and
no,
you use
no,
the
no.
keyword cult and all that. Huh?
It should be noted that that this is only for the nobility. For the peasants, they all worship different gods.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Continue.
The peasants all worship Ulrich and Sigmar and Midra and this god of the sea. The peasants worship something entirely different, but the nobility basically restricts worship of the Lady of the Lake to just them.
Okay.
Which, if you think about it, is really dumb.
Yeah, like you think this god is goddess is so amazing and powerful, and wouldn't you then want more people to worship them?
No, it's our secret club. You can't come in.
It's our secret. No, it's our it's our secret. It literally is no girls allowed treehouse club.
Reading no one allowed. Get the fuck out of here, normie.
Yeah, pretty much. It's gatekeepers taken to the extreme, and like this is a great example. This is why gatekeeping sucks. Anyways, so what? Any other rules?
Nope, that's it. We get into the division in their society.
Okay.
You're either born a noble or a
You're not.
peasant. No in between. And you cannot interpose the two. Even disgraced nobles are still nobles. And even the best, most capable, amazing peasant is still a peasant.
Guess you go for
Bretonnia-
a squire of some sort.
Bretonia's nobles are further divided
Oh boy.
between noble women who are married off between noble houses to create alliance and continue to maintain or raise up their house in the noble pecking order, and noble sons who are sent off to become knights.
The more you tell me about Bretonnia, the more I just want to raise an army and just beat the shit out of them. The
Understandable.
nobles, not the common folks, the nobles.
Very understandable.
Further, Bretonnian nobles have say in all matters. They do not even recognize the Empire witch hunters' authority to hunt and root out witches and wizards. In other words, if a Bretonnian noble thinks someone isn't a warlock, they're not a warlock, even if the witch hunter has all the evidence in the world.
It's literally the meme from SpongeBob where the guy showing Patrick his driver's license and he goes, "That's not mine." It's that kind of.
I'm gonna use a Victoria meme from a Paradox game.
Mm-hmm.
It's the meme where 5% of your population has a living standard that's referred to as rich beyond all measure, and the other 95% have a living standard that's referred to as utterly impoverished, desperate to survive.
95. That's a little low. I feel like it's probably a lot higher than that.
But it still gets the idea across. Like,
Right.
ugh.
God, there's
Again,
there
this is
are.
why feudalism is
Go ahead.
cringe.
Go ahead, Reycall.
Oh yeah, it's probably fucking Jesus Christ. It's probably 99.99% of people can't fucking survive at all, barely.
That 4,000 figure is probably a drop in the bucket compared to how many peasants it takes to have a single Grail Knight running around. Now, it should be noted there is a very small class of, quote, free men. These are peasants who have gotten rich enough that at some point in their family lineage, or they themselves, were able to buy their serfdom from the noble and establish themselves as a free person.
Okay, what does a free person get?
You have, first off, you have the right of travel. You can actually, leave
Wait, so
and go somewhere else.
Oh yeah, no, I guess that was an important thing to tell. Yeah, if you're born a fucking peasant, you're tied to your home. If fucking noble catches you too far away from that, they'll kill you on sight.
Okay, this is the inverse of halflings, where if you ever listen to that episode, the more Fee told me about the halflings, the more I fell in love with them. This is the polar opposite. The more I'm finding out about these people, the more I hate them. I don't hate them to the level of the Skaven, but it's for different reasons.
They're awful people. And you
There are no public schools in Bretonnia. All schooling comes at a steep price through private arrangement from Grail monasteries of the Lady of the Lake. Artisans and craftsmen and semi-skilled professionals are the primary people who make up free men, who then go and join guilds, so they have the protection of the guild from nobles attempting to tie them back down so that they can then use their skills exclusively. It gets worse. There's sumptuary laws on how you're allowed to dress.
Oh my. Again,
you're allowed to eat.
feudalism is cringe. Oh my god, Bretonnia, you win the cringe award for.
Peasants are not allowed to wear any form of gold. They're not allowed to wear most gems. They cannot wear purple, bright yellow, or green. They cannot have silk in any color. And furs are restricted to rabbit, cat, and rat. Further, even the most elite of the on-station men-at-arms, who are peasants that have become soldiers, are not allowed to wear plate armor or carry a two-handed sword.
That one's so stupid. Like, fine, the fashion and the clothes, fine. It's fascist as fuck. But I'm like, okay, fine, it's oppressive. But I'm like, why would you handicap your not elite soldiers that way? That's so from a strategic standpoint, that's so stupid.
Again, they are like so dispensable. There's so many of them, and the bulk. See, the core military strategy of the Bretonians is, first of all, it's important to understand that the Bretonia does not actually have a standing army. They don't. Bretonia,
okay. That makes things a little bit more understandable.
yeah.
Still stupid, but okay.
So like the point of Bretonian army strategy is because there is no standing army, there can't be complex maneuvers and anything done to, like, it's just, here's our guys, go tell your guys to stand here, and we, the noble knights, will wait for our guys, the little dirty peasants, to get into a brawl with the fucking idiots. And when they do that and they're dying, which we don't care that they die, it's not the point. We'll zoop around on horseback is super important to Bretonia, by the way. We'll zoop around the flank or the rear, and we will practice our tried and true tradition of hammer and anvil, and that is the core of military genius in Bretonia, which admittedly works very well to what they're usually fighting. They're usually fighting, undisciplined greenskins, bands of what do you call them, beastmen. It does, obviously they do take field against like undead and the like, and occasionally other humans. But the bulk of their fights are against people who are not doing, maneuvers.
They don't most of the time they fight people who are just there to revel in the slaughter. Hence the Norskins, the Greenskins, the Beastmen, those sorts of people. The one time they fought the elves, they got ruffle
I was
stomped.
about to say, yeah, the elves probably just kicked their ass with one hand tied behind their backs.
The Bretonnian king was sent home naked and shaved from head to toe.
Good.
But the thing here to remember is, further, if you're a foreign visitor, you have to get a permit for your armor and weapons.
It's expensive too.
And usually the expense comes at, you bribe the border guard to give you a permit. Noble and honorable in name only.
Which to me makes it even worse. With like at least the orcs, there's no pretense. They are who they are, and they don't try to pretend to be anything else. I think that's why the Bretonnians piss me off so much, because I hate, not double standards is the wrong term, but like people who say they're one thing and then they're the other. I'm like, no. I have more respect for someone who, even if they're a piece of shit, they're honest that they're a piece of shit. I'm more pissed at people who's like, oh, I'm a good person. No, you're a corrupt fuckhead who is selfish as shit. Those people I hate more, and that's why I hate the Bretonnians already.
Very
The Bretonnians are also encourage the peasants to have children at an extremely alarming, unsustainable rate, so they will always have hordes of low-born warriors to throw at their enemies.
Uh,
Let me get to the status of women
yeah.
officially.
So I'm holding a plushie that I'm about ready to throw.
The second divide is with women. Men are required to be polite to women at all times. A man insulting a woman is considered a terrible breach of etiquette and comes with 10 lashes as a actual punishment.
Wait, repeat the actual law itself again.
Insulting a woman is such a terrible breach of etiquette, you will be lashed 10 times for doing so if you're a man.
Okay, interesting.
Men who attack women are punished or executed.
Okay, interesting.
Men are expected to stand when a woman enters the room and always allow her to leave the room first.
Okay, this is the little nugget of chivalry that exists left in this. But I have a bad feeling are these then actually done, or are this just bullshit rules that they're not following, or is there actually proof they're following up on this?
Lastly, women are to be served their meal first and given the most comfortable bed. Whether they want it or not, women have no say in this treatment whatsoever, and they will not be allowed to put themselves into danger. Of course, all of these requirements come with the requirement that women are not allowed to own property, must always travel with a male escort, and are not allowed to undertake the vast majority of trades or professions or serve in the military. Men are also firmly in charge of the household.
It's a bit of an infantilization of women in a lot of ways.
Pretty much.
It is. If you didn't hear it, I'm literally punching. The plushie, by the way, is just as a rock. But either way, that whole time you were explaining those, I just started punching it, so I just didn't keep screaming.
There are a couple of exceptions to how women are treated.
Now, also, just a side note, those laws you just mentioned, are those actually followed?
To be
Yes.
fair, any law mentioned anywhere here. So there are actually a fair few cases of actually honorable and actually chivalrous knights and lords. And a lot of the lore is actually, or a lot of the content is because it is kind of just awful to have an entire faction just be unlikable, awful people. Where there are obviously, don't expect anyone to be like, oh, we should free the fucking like serfdom. Like no one's saying that. No one's
not going to
saying
have
that.
a wave of feminism. We're not going to have, a sudden.
Oh, no. I was getting to that.
Oh, okay.
I was getting to the wave of feminism.
Let's go.
Yeah.
This is the good part, and why our lovely, lovely guest here is dressed like a knight.
Hi.
So, there are 3 instances in which women in Bretonnia will be treated equal to men. The first instance is female merchants from foreign countries who dress as men, regardless if they are clocked as a woman or not. must still be treated as though they are men because they are acting in a man's place, for they have no man to act for them.
Interesting. Okay. You final. The urge to punch my rock plushie has gone down. Interesting.
The second instance of this, and we haven't talked about this faction at all. This is their first appearance. Kislev
You haven't
and their
talked about
ice
this?
witches.
Oh, okay.
I feel you've mentioned ice witches, but I don't know if you mentioned Kislev. But either way, okay.
So I mentioned this because we are starting the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay in November. Interviews are at the end of this month. For anyone who signed up, yeah, your interviews at the end of this month. We're gonna get you dates and times for that. But anyway, here's the Kislev Ice Witch that I'll be playing. But here's the deal: Kislev Ice Witches are issued a writ of permit to hunt greenskins, Skaven, and beastmen in Bretonnia uncontested. They are the only women who are allowed to act as adventurers in Bretonnia and be taken seriously at the same time. They also scare the hell out of the peasants, and peasants generally avoid them.
Kislev people are. It is the Russia of the Warhammer fantasy setting, and it is the most like hyper Mother Russia that you could ever really get.
Even though technically,
Reading into it a lot, it turns out like the area of Russia that is technically the Rus, like the Moscow Kursk zone, is completely avoided, and they're more like Poland and Czechoslovakia and Estonia and Lithuania and Siberia. And there's just this whole gap that's just, nope, we don't talk about these people.
yeah, weirdly enough, somehow Ukraine kind of exists in all of this.
Oh yeah. Kislev itself is based on Kyiv rather than Moscow. Like the city is based on Kyiv, and the way they rule and their government is based on Poland and Ukraine from before Russia and the Turks showed up. And I'm just like, that's neat.
Also,
But the third instance.
Go on.
Go ahead, Ginger.
Well, I was about to say also briefly, I think we've discussed on the map, at least I'm looking at it correctly, Russia technically doesn't exist.
Yeah, Russia technically is just the Chaos Wastes.
It is the border between the Empire and the Chaos Wastes.
Yeah, so the third, we mentioned the previous two, so the third one,
The third one is during the 23rd century, some Bretonnian female nobles were not only allowed to become full-fledged knights, but did not need to disguise themselves as men to do it.
Ooh.
And it is common practice, particularly for Bretonnian noble families who only have one or two children from a marriage, to disguise their female children as men and act as knights, some of them even becoming Grail Knights, and in several cases not getting caught until they became a knight of the inner circle of the king's court. And once they're caught, well, you can't exactly throw them out. The Lady of the Lake said that this one is blessed by me. So, kind of stuck with them.
You're like chilling with your homies, you're going down, and all of a sudden there's a girl. And you're like, oh my god, there's a girl here. What the hell are we doing here?
Oh my god, a girl. No, what will we do? We can't hang.
But you can't kick her out because mommy said, no, you have to play with them too. And then you're like,
Mommy said I can play N64 with you guys. There's nothing you can do about it.
It really is that. Where do Grail ladies come in again?
Okay, so Grail ladies are the only wizards of Bretonnia.
Okay.
The Lady of the Lake bestows upon a female devotee her blessing. What really has happened is a woman has spellcasting ability, and the Lady of the Lake recognizes it and teaches them how to use spells.
Okay, that just got
Men
really.
are not allowed to be wizards in Bretonnia. They're just myrtleated.
Well, so then technically, if we're being really literal, so they're not wizards, they're witches? Question mark, depending on how you want to use the terminology.
They're referred to as prophetess,
Okay, interesting.
and they're the only or grail prophetess or grail lady. They're also referred to as an enchantress.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And they're the only female person who's allowed to serve among the Bretonnian armies and fully display themselves as a woman.
Okay.
But also, they're still not allowed to hold land.
Oh. No, hold on. I just side question. So the few Grail Knights that were able to female Grail Knights that were able to sneak their way up to the top, do they, even though, because now they've been found out, but could then they own land? I know that's a weird set of circumstances.
The point of a knight is that they own land and protect that land, so they technically have to.
Yeah.
Okay, but go on.
So, I'm gonna name some Bretonnian units. I imagine that Reycall here probably knows the best way to describe all of them, in less technical terms.
Sure.
So I'm gonna let Reycall describe the things I name.
Okay.
Peasant mob.
You remember when I told you the fodder they throw at things? That's that.
Carcassonne sheep herders.
I don't remember that one. Shit.
It's literally just the men and women that they get together to go fight orcs in the mountain to get their sheep back.
Okay. Shit.
Peasant bowmen.
The most disrespected and hated peasantry in the world.
Men at arms.
Men at arms are soldiers that the nobility have deemed that they can maybe like hold a little bit more ground on the battlefield, so they give them a few roles that are of more importance.
Grail pilgrim.
Oh, these motherfuckers. So to understand what a grail pilgrim is actually you have to understand what a pilgrimage is for a knight. And this is a knight errant. So before a knight is a knight, they are a knight errant. And a knight errant is someone who has to go around Bretonnia to, do quests and earn the favor of the Lady of the Lake. And as they go on their quest, becoming more and more powerful, people will start kind of like, oh, that's a knight, and they'll start following him, and they'll start kind of like awing him and almost worshiping him. But this is the nice sounding part of it all. See, a Grail Pilgrim, what they're actually also really after is the Grail Knight just ate and he threw a couple scraps away. Oh, let me devour that. Oh, the knight just bested some dudes and their swords and daggers are on the floor. Let me get some of that. Or, once a knight becomes a knight proper, or even beforehand, our knight has fallen and has died. We're gonna rip every single part of him, like his clothing, his flesh, his bones. We are going to take that. We're going to hold that. We're gonna treasure that, because see, a thing about knights is that they're not just viewed as holy people in Bretonnia. They are holy. Like their bodies post mortem have power, real power, and having a piece of a knight is very, very, very lucrative thing to have. Very lucrative thing to have. There are many stories of pilgrims who look at their knight who has quote unquote fallen and they think he's dead and they just mob the body, but the knight is still alive and they're already ripping him to shreds. Yeah, that's a pilgrim.
That went nightmare fuel really, like that last bit before the ripping to shreds. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, behavior, I can see that. The last one was like, oh, okay, oh.
The pilgrims are a fucking not like not a oh they're no yeah.
So let's talk about the Foot Knights.
Nice.
My brain immediately thinks halflings, but I'm sure I'm really wrong.
I think they're just
So,
out, right?
So Foot Squires Knights and Hermit Knights are
Hermit Knights are so cool.
peasants.
Wait, Hermit Knights
Hermit Knights are
peasants?
something different.
Yeah, Hermit Knights are peasants, right? They're right proper
No,
knights.
no, but Foot Knights and Foot Squires are basically the elite peasant infantry. They're the best of the best that exist as peasants, and have been given the deep, wonderful honor of being allowed to wear plate mail.
Amazing.
Why does it sound like, I think it's in 40K where it's like the humans and the joke is, yeah, you're probably gonna die, but they gave you a gun.
Yeah. Many of these are illegitimate bastards of nobles. It is just the way to keep them in line is to make them a foot squire and let them become a foot knight. Hermit Knight is a Grail Knight who's gotten old.
Very old.
Like, so old that he doesn't necessarily go out on the battlefield anymore. He kind of protects the Grail Chapel and gives the sagely fatherly advice to all the knights that come by.
Okay.
They are also incredibly powerful and probably usually some of the nicer people you will see in the Bretonnian Empire.
There's some of the nicer people, that's true, and the reason they're so powerful is because they're wielding weapons that are ancient beyond the days of the elves at this point.
They casually slay dragons. If they are
Wait, hold on. No. I gotta hit the brakes on that one. You said the phrase casually slay dragons. That has the energy of like, hey, what are we gonna do Friday night? Oh, let's just go slay a dragon. All right, what are we gonna do Saturday? You know, it has that energy to it.
Very much so. Like they're just going around like they are by far some of the most powerful. The reason a lot of knights actually take to the battlefield is honor and my name and favor and nonsense like that. Grail Knight, what's it called? What do they call it? Hermit Knights are established. You know, they're retirees. They're like, you know, I'm so fucking that era of me was so cringe. That's all yesterday. I don't do that shit no more. But make no mistake, they're still under oath, and like anyone tries to do shit in their realm that is not shit that they want done, they'll kill them. They'll kill them with impunity. A dragon rolls on by, dead. A fucking horde of assholes rolls on by. A horde of assholes rolls on by. The Hermanite will walk out alone and be like, dead. You die. It's over for you.
There is a Warhammer Chronicle story where a bunch of orcs were coming up towards a Grail Chapel. A Hermit Knight came outside, saw them coming, and from 100 yards away, yeeted his sword at the orc war boss and decapitated him.
Bitch.
And the orc stopped, saw this happen, and went, you know what? Not worth it, and left.
It's like,
and when someone asked him, why did you do something so dishonorable as used ranged combat? His reply was very simple. It wasn't ranged. I used my sword. Technically, that's a melee weapon. Then we have the Bretonnian Cavalry. First, we have the Yeomen, who are they're grizzled veterans, so to speak.
Peasants, though.
They're still peasants.
I'm going to admit, the only so far, just a quick pause. The Hermit Knights seem to be the only ones where I'm like, okay, these guys seem
they're very cool. Like they'll actually treat most people well, and like one of their main goals is to make sure that like, see, in the Warhammer fantasy setting, especially around where Bretonnians live, dragons and monsters like to kidnap women. They really like that. A lot of fucking Hermanites spend their time rescuing damsels in distress.
Why don't they ever like Okay, but anyway, sorry. I can go on a rant, but we already know my thoughts on this. Let's continue.
But yeah, yeomen are still peasants, but they are effectively like the best you can ever hope to be as a peasant who's not a noble's bastard son.
Mhm.
Then we have knight errants. Ray,
Mhm.
even I'm confused at this one. Why are there like 7 different kinds of knight?
Well, let's go through them. Knight errants are just people are nobles aspiring, noble sons aspiring to be knights. That's really the long story short for them. They just go around the place. I mean, we already talked about them. They're going on a pilgrimage to become knights. Then we have what's next?
Knights of the Realm?
Knights of the Realm are knights who have been Knights of the Realm are knights who have been like been bestowed favor by the lady, and I believe they don't have a keep, but they fight on the same like. So Bretonnia is divided into like I think 8 or 11 realms, some shit like that. And obviously one dude is not enough for just an entire fucking like state.
Yeah.
So they put them around the place and you know fucking fight at it.
And Pegasus Knights are just Pegasus Knights because they have a Pegasus.
Yeah, Pegasus.
Nothing else like crazy about them. They're just Knights of the
They
Realm of
are
Pegasi.
usually the richest of the knights. They are also usually the most skilled of the knights, where a lot of knights are actually described as wanton barbarism, fighting with brute strength. Pegasus knights are always described as the most eloquent, most skilled, and most um, daring fighters of the entire Bretonnian, not army, but fight like of entire Bretonnia.
And then we have questing knights, and I'm assuming these are the ones that are running around trying to get the favor of the Lady of the Lake.
Yeah, questing knights, yeah, something like that. They're the ones that are trying to become king, basically.
Okay. And then Lost Sons are knights who displayed magical power who now serve in the Lady of the Lake's personal court.
Yeah, I actually don't know this one, but I'm assuming that sounds right.
Okay. Grail Knights?
Grail Knights are the ones who have been bestowed the chalice. They have drank from the chalice. They are the most powerful of knights that you can find. Like the power bestowed upon them radiates. Like they are a cut above the cloth of regular knight. Mind you, for example, usually you can have a Pegasus Knight that's also a Grail Knight. That term is not exclusive, but a Grail Knight is just someone who has been given the power of the Lady of the Lake and has drank from the chalice to have her, godliness bestowed upon them.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, the only officially recognized ranged unit of Bretonnia that no one says anything bad about necessarily is the Trebuchet.
People love the trebuchet.
It's their only siege weapon.
Their only siege
Literally, they show up to a castle and go, "How are we getting in there?" Trebuchet.
They don't even have a ballista. They just have a trebuchet.
They cut the crap. They're just like, you know what? This guy's the job done.
And then there's the only variant of the trebuchet is the Blessed Trebuchet, which is a trebuchet crafted in the Grail Chapel and blessed by the stones of the chapel itself.
Yep.
It's the long range version of bring the holy hand grenade.
Yeah, it really is.
And now, in the interest of time, I'm going to give us the 5 most well-known notable people of Bretonnia.
Okay, let's go.
The first one is the Green Knight. Ray, am I taking this one or are you? Because I'm not 100% on this one.
The Green Knight is described. I'm surprised you started with. He's the coolest one. Dude, I would have saved him for last.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with the really cool, and then I'm gonna work down
Okay.
then I'm gonna work down.
All right. The Green Knight is the knight of myth and the knight of valor for the Bretonnian mythos. He appears only when the Bretonnians need him the most. In the most pitch of battles, in the most dire situations, the Green Knight materializes almost from the forest, from the stone, from the ground itself. His armor is described as green, mossy rock, weathered by nature and time itself, as if a statue came to life. He is a mystery to all Bretonians, and a mystery and almost a god in himself to the peasantry himself. His skill is unparalleled to all who fight him. And it is said that for a Grail Knight to become a Grail Knight, to be truly recognized as a Grail Knight, he must first fight and best the Green Knight. It is said that a questing knight who fights who is seeking to fight for to become a Grail Knight has only two options to either or three options. He either wins, dies, or runs to never try his hand at being a knight again. He is the legend he is the one. He is as close to like the Deus Ex. He is the Bretonians Deus Ex.
Yeah, and he just appears in battle. He like
We know who he is now too, but that's like end times lore.
wait, who is it?
Do you really want to know?
Go ahead.
So some people hate knowing this, but it's fine here. So he is the first Bretonian king ever. Oh, look, whatever his name is, like
He's Giles?
yeah, he's Giles. Yeah, he's Giles.
I thought Kyle's died.
He did.
He did.
He did.
It's his
He was-
ethereal spirit.
Oh,
was
okay,
res-
okay, that makes more sense.
No. He was resurrected. He is like real. He's
Wait,
real.
so he's not a spirit, he's alive, and he's not a
He's
zombie.
alive. He just has magical properties, but he's like, I don't know if he's exactly flesh and blood or whatnot, but he's like there. Like
he's
like
there. He's a person. You touch him,
he
and you feel
becomes the king of Bretonnia again when he like unveils who he is.
So then we have the Fey Enchantress, also known as Morgana Le Fay.
Yeah.
Go on.
Straight up King Arthur's betrayer.
Okay, hold quick pause. Because this is relevant and this is a bit of a I don't know if it was purpose or accidental. So, for all the Magic the Gathering players there out who are listening, very few of you who are still playing today. But anyways, well, regardless.
Mhm.
One of the planeswalkers in Magic the Gathering is named Morgana, and she also, now if you read her backstory, it was an accidental one, but it's fascinating that again, one of these interesting parallels that may or may have not been picked up, but I just find that fascinating as a side note. But go on, this version of her.
This version of her is loyal to the Lady of the Lake and protects Bretonnia and those that the Lady of the Lake tells her to. She's also the one who personally shows up to bestow blessings. However, it should be noted that Bretonnia has a second civil war.
I thought you just said Bretonnia was set up so civil wars don't happen.
They usually don't. But Bretonnia has a second civil war when the original claimant to Moslin, the city that, is abandoned and full of undeath, shows up and challenged Louis Leoncoeur and who called him a bastard king. Another deathly figure known as Archon the Black.
Oh.
Who is descended from the longest line of necromancers in Warhammer lore and history, also known as the Forever Lich King, and the greatest follower of Nagash, Ender of the World. And so they had a civil war. And the reason why the civil war is important here is Morgana is betrayed.
Oh, she's betrayed.
By one of the knights and handed over to head of the vampire counts, Manfred von Karstein.
I have a feeling things don't go well for her.
Actually,
they are sacrificed to Archon the Black to resurrect Nagash and end the world. And with her being sacrificed, Grail Knights all lost their holy blessings.
Okay. I can see why.
And Bretonnia would descend into anarchy.
Good.
She literally was the one thing keeping Bretonnia together.
The good Bretonnia
By being the by being a person who would be a neutral judge of all the people who came before her as knights to determine if they got her blessing or not.
So just for the record, good not that she was sacrificed. Good that Bretonnia actually gets the fate it fucking deserves.
It's very important to also state that like Bretonnia falling, it spelled the end of the world.
She was the one. She was all the reason why the Fey Enchanter is so important, and why Bretonnia staying the way it is so important for the rest of the world, is because by her blessing the Grail Knights, they would hunt down things like Nagash's followers and slay them to prevent the resurrection and awakening of Nagash. When she was slain to reawaken, when she was sacrificed to reawaken Nagash, that barrier, that sacred order died with her because she took all of the blessings of all of the knights ever to her grave and removed all of the power she had imbued them with. They went from being demigods to mortal men.
Now, question, without going too much into it. So, when they wrote the end times, they basically went, all right, no more Warhammer lore. See ya, fuckers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really shitty. I mean, understandable.
It is shitty from also, I've made this quote before about, like, the Paul Simon quote where he speaks about how his writing style, he likes to have, where a lot of writers will kind of write themselves into a corner and end things, and how Paul Simon likes to, and even uses this song Graceland, where it's this journey that in theory he could have kept going on it because the song has this nature to it. And this is an example of a story, especially now with the end times. It's like, y'all just didn't want to write any more lore, did ya? And also apparently from what Feast told me, it's not a great book to begin with.
Oh,
But
it is
because there were certain stories that she told me about, and I'm like, this is really fucking stupid. This wouldn't have made it past a college creative writing workshop class, let alone be published.
The Warhammer End Time series is universally agreed as the worst Warhammer writing ever, and Warhammer writing isn't even supposed to be amazing to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel a lot of the hatred it does get, and mind you, I've read it. I don't like it. I do think a lot of the hatred it does get is that, to spell it bluntly, the bad guys win. The bad guys win like massively, and like it's a really huge feels bad moment because a lot of people who like, and I think what is the worst part about it is that the bad guys win in a like, obviously there's like a big climactic battle, of course that happens, but a lot of the big moments where things just go fucking so wrong are just like, and things just go wrong, and the good guys lose, and like it's just a lot of that. Like,
and I don't mind a story
if Mr. von Karstein had waited 5 freaking seconds.
And here's why also
I'm sorry.
I don't mind bad guys winning, because then that can kind of sort of reset a story and then allow for a new hero to come and defeat them. But
which was the idea.
Right. But when then the bad guys win, then equals story is done. Why? Like, it just, to me, it's yeah, it's frustrating. But I think we should talk to them about the next night, because this is a topic we've ranted on in previous episodes, and we could go on.
It's obviously,
and now we're gonna get,
the story does not end with the end times. The story does progress, just not in a way people want it to progress. It removes all of the characters, it removes all of the world building, and just says, and we're starting again in this new reality, which is basically what it is. Which I don't know if he has talked to you about Age of Sigmar.
I have not talked about Age of Sigmar specifically to just avoid that topic altogether. Not because I necessarily don't like Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar has an amazing storytelling. I just don't want to dive into that can of worms.
So, without going into the can of worms, Age of Sigmar follows End Times in terms of the timeline? It's complicated.
The answer to your question is no, it doesn't. But also simultaneously, yes, it does.
Remember those side episodes we were talking about? We'll do one about the We'll do one about the Age of
transition.
Sigmar.
It's a
Yeah.
really actually fascinating topic of the transition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles to, Age of Sigmar, and it is just really sad that the decision for Age of Sigmar was a very much corporate one. It was like, and it was, I love 40K, but I do not like Games Workshop, and I don't like how much Games Workshop is just willing to like, but money.
I'm surprised. Oh man, who's the Oh, Geeks Welcome. Have they done a 40K Games Workshop?
We're way behind on episodes with Geeks Welcome, so as soon as we can get
I know, but it just is a
caught
fun
up,
idea.
Games Workshop is on the list.
Oh yeah, Games Workshop needs to be a big fucking target. That one is but anyways, let's get back on topic on another night.
Yeah.
So then we have Rapunce de Lyonesse, who is the Joan of Arc of the setting.
Okay, fucking let's go. Finally.
She was born in 1990 IC, and in 2007 IC, a Chaos Horde rode into Bretonnia, besieged the city of Concorde, and slew the king Louis the Brave. They then spread out across the land and began causing problems everywhere. The lady herself appeared before Rapunce and told her to go stop the invading forces. As a peasant, without anyone's permission, she took up a slain knight's armor, weapons, and horse and charged into battle.
Let's fucking go.
After that fight, she went to the nearby Grail Chapel and took from the slain hermit knight his ancient sword and a tapestry of unknown origin bearing the fleur-de-lis.
And I know you. Go on.
And then she went out and rallied the Bretonnian army.
Hell yeah. But let me guess, she mirrors Joan of Arc where they called her a witch and burned her at the stake?
No. This gets better.
Oh, alternate timeline. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
When the retreating knights saw a mere damsel dressed in haphazard fitting armor, wielding a sword twice her size, riding in and beating the snot out of the warriors of chaos, they felt such shame that they decided that this fight is death or glory, and turned around and went back into the battle.
Wait, so the side she was fighting on got inspired, if I got that story right?
Yep.
Yeah, they got so inspired, they went, you know what? She's out there doing it, and we're running, and we're being told to run away. No, turn around. We die on this spot, or we win today.
Fuck yeah.
And she went onto the ramparts of the city.
Please tell me.
While it was
go on.
falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
To fight the Chaos Lord leading the incursion. And if you've ever, and this is like Warhammer trying to recreate This Is Sparta moment. Because the exact quote is, "This is Bretonnia," and she kicked him from the rampart and crashed him through the battering ram that was trying to break down the city gate.
Yes. Now, does her story continue to be cool, or does because I know the basic story of Joan of Arc, she ends because they considered her a witch. Does this gal get that fate, or does she get a good fate?
Louis the Brave successor, Louis the Young, bestowed upon her the honors of knighthood and the right to take on female knights as errants.
Let's go! Yes!
The Lady of the Lake bestowed upon her something else, though.
Uh-huh.
The Lady of the Lake bestowed upon her the blessing of the Lady Immortalis, making Rapunce an immortal representative of the Lady of the Lake. she can only die in battle, and the lady will bring her back.
So she got the respawn cheat code, basically.
She doesn't age. She is considered a saint. She is considered a champion of the Lady of the Lake. And everywhere she goes, a fleur-de-lis tree grows in her wake after she leaves.
Okay, just a
Good
single
idea.
tree, not like a ton of trees.
Pretty
But
good
that's
deal.
More or less.
Okay, whoever wrote this gal, I'm going to give them kudos to you, person. That's a pretty cool story.
Yes, Ray?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I was agreeing.
Yeah.
She also, as it turns out, statistically was the most common lord for Bretonnian armies to choose as their lord for tabletop.
Huh.
Fun fact.
Huh. It's like when you give players a new leader that isn't the same generic grizzly white male, and they give them something new. People actually like that. What a concept!
Let's not
Well,
go that far.
Well,
I mean, she did have to earn it.
She had
Yeah,
some
but
pretty
still.
good rules, actually.
Right.
Yeah, she also has some really, really good rules.
Yeah, but that helps. But it's one of those. It helps. But yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, she has some really good rules, and she got a really cool retinue, and you can only get that retinue of knights if you took her.
Okay, hold on. What the hell is a retinue?
Retinue.
Retinue.
It's your personal
Your entourage.
body. Yeah, your personal entourage.
Oh, okay.
So she got an entourage of really cool knights that were only hers, and you couldn't bring them unless you brought her. So it was like, may as well make her my warlord.
Yeah, there's and Bretonnia was you have a generic lord, which everybody obviously has a generic lord, so you can keep your points down. Then you have obviously in the modern editions you have Louis Leonco. Then you have, I think you can have the Green Knight as
You can have you can't have him as a warlord.
No?
You can have him as a champion.
okay, yeah. Then who else did you have?
You had like
Mm,
Ulbrich
and the guy.
her and the Lady of the Lake.
Yeah. So you had 4 options really. Like you had 4 options.
So she's the super badass, and then the last one we're going to talk about is Louis Leoncourt.
Louis
he is
an
also
asshole, but also he's right most of the time.
he is the asshole who you don't want to be right, but you know is correct. He also is based off Richard the Lionheart. He is referred to as the Lionhearted, the Bold, of Bretonnia, son of Bretonnia, the Lord of the Lance, the Golden Paladin. I mean, he has a lot of monikers. There's like 17 more. So I could just imagine him having like a hype man who has to say all of that when he comes into the room.
Does
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, and he has to say all of them before he enters the room. You know, the this, and this, and also known as this, yeah, I'm picturing some version of that.
He is the last Bretonnian king.
Second last.
But his successor is basically the Green Knight.
Yeah.
This is important to remember. He's also the first Bretonnian king to attempt reforms.
Okay, go on.
So,
mind you, Bretonnian kings are not common.
he made a decree that the law as written should never compromise its noble intent, and that if the intent is corrupted, the law needs to be rewritten.
Ooh.
Next, he has never refused anyone from airing a grievance against him.
Okay, now just to make sure, so I get a little bit of context, what in this sense is airing a grievance?
He holds court. You come in and you talk to him, or you say, "Hey, I got a problem with you," or something you're doing.
He won't kill you.
He has issued a decree by which has been enshrined. He's the first king since the establishment of Bretonnia to change the code of honor.
Okay, so already this guy's sounding really cool. Why is he now an asshole?
The addition to the code of honor is no one can suffer for what they say during an audience with a noble.
He's
Wait.
also. It sounds really great, but then he'll. Sorry, go on.
No. I want to hear this. I want to hear this.
He's also simultaneously the guy who told what's it called, not what's it called, who told Reichland what do you call it, people who go to another country to diplomacy, what do they call those words,
Envoy?
diplomats, yeah. He told diplomats who questioned him, was like Louis Leon, your people are suffering, and he's like, they're not suffering, they have food, they're fine. Like,
Oh, okay. I can see already why people think he's an asshole, but
like he at least understands, like, when I say he's right, like he understands that he's not gonna change things, and so he has to just keep he has to keep the engine going. He can't just
And
tell the engine to stop, but he can do little tweaks here and there, and they're pretty good.
trying.
Cool.
He also, like, not trying to defend the guy, but it's like, okay, at this point, how long has Bretonnia existed?
This is like its full existence at this point. He's at the cusp of the end of its existence, effectively.
So how long has it existed
yeah.
for?
Fuck, how long is that?
1,500, almost 1,600 years.
Okay, let's just go for 1,500 just for an easy number. 1,500 years to try and enact, even if you're an asshole, trying to enact change in something that has not changed for about 1,500 years. You kind of got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and he is still a Bretonian at heart. He's got no qualms sending the shaft to die. He'll do it. He'll be like, and you sure he'll sit in court and say something like, "You sent my fucking brother to die in a pointless fucking battle," and Louis like, "Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, get in line, brother.
I did that.
I'm not. You want me to say sorry? I'm not sorry. Goodbye."
So this is a direct quote from him. 5 years from this, and it never gets easier. One day I'll sleep in bed again, perhaps with a woman or two to warm it. And on that day I'll eat rabbit stew, stuffed swan, roast boar, and more. Today, though, I'll be up to my armpits in corpses by lunchtime. Still, deed needs to be done. That describes his entire attitude. Still, the deed needs to be done.
Yeah, so he's trying. It's not like he's just being a king and sitting on his throne.
It's more like
Yeah,
he recognizes that, like, yeah, we're like a little mean, like we deserve to be mean, like, don't get, like, he goes to the homie, don't get it wrong, guys, like, we the guys, we the goat, don't get it wrong, guys, I'm not saying we're the goats.
Right, but again, like I'm saying, he has to now face up to 1,500 years of inertia. So, like, the fact that I'm not saying he's a saint, but the fact that he's at least trying to make things better is something.
He's a decent guy. Truth be told, he is a decent guy. When Joan of Arc, like, the characters that you have as lords, and this is why I was saying Joan of Arc really didn't get picked for anything other than her, and not okay. I don't want to say that way. That's actually not what I mean. But, like, the big deciding factor is she was a really good lord, because the characters near the end of the story, near the later editions, they're redeemable people. They are, like, all of them are redeemable people. Like, Louis is an asshole, but he's also, like, he's an all right dude. He's just doing his best to make sure that the fucking Bretonnian engine doesn't stop, defending the world. And Lady Lake, she's just fucking what's it called? She's just like, well, I'm just here blessing motherfuckers and making sure we don't let the world explode. Like, the Bretonnian experiences is all about, we are doing this simply because if we don't do this, the world will end, and we need to not let the world end, because the world ends. That's it's bad for all of us.
I guess Louis is not really an asshole. Is not the best way to describe him. Louis is more like the real guy. Like, he's a dick, but he's right, and he's gonna do it because it's the right thing to do. Because even while Bretonnia was in the middle of a civil war, when Karl Franz, the last emperor of the empire, was holding the meet between all the different factions and races and stuff to try to form an alliance of order, Louis Leoncoeur was the first one to step forward and go, I will send men to this, and I will participate in this personally. He was the first one to step forward and say, I will help. And he showed up.
He did. Yeah, he did. Louis Leoncoeur almost saved the day. He really he was Karl Franz, then later his body inhabited obviously by Sigmar, Louis Leoncoeur, and the Green Knight. They all almost saved the day. They all almost saved the day.
And like his final fate, a Skaven that he's fighting back with all of his might gets his plague saw embedded into Louis's ribs just below the heart. And he smiled at him. He smiled at the Skaven. Because of what came behind the Skaven. Vlad von Karstein and the High Priestess of the Lady of the Lake. Vlad having seen the error of his ways that was bringing Nagash back. And the Lady of the Lake having forgiven Vlad for his past deeds if he would rise up and help fight back the demons. Rode in, cleared the Bretonnian capital of the demons and Skaven that were infesting it, and Louis, his last words were, thank you, I appreciate both of you. And then he died.
Okay.
Even Vlad von Karstein, a vampire lord who's been around for almost 1,200 years,
incurred a lot of hatred.
Who almost everyone in existence hates, and on top of that, who feels no love for any mortal whatsoever, stopped and cried over the death of Louis Leoncoeur.
That's
He was
pretty-
like
because Louis Leoncoeur's last chapter ends with, and Vlad von Karstein wept. That's the last we ever hear of Louis Leoncoeur in person. And as Ray put it, Louis Leoncoeur's spirit and the spirit of the Green Knight come back to try to stop the end times at the last moment.
And failed.
They tried.
Fucking
Go
literally, it's fucking a dude slips and just fucks it up. It's actually like, what if, like, oh my, okay, I'm not even gonna get into that.
Oh yeah, no, I already know what I can. Without knowing how it ends, I can tell it's one of this bullshit, like, spoilers again, for a series that if you haven't caught up to this point, it's the end. I forget if it's season 1 or season 2 of Ruby, where Ruby's running the fuck up the tower, and Ruby's 1 second too late. And I'm like, no,
Yep.
that was such bullshit.
Like, I don't even mind that. I don't even mind that.
But
And
it's
that's not
that
actually what
energy. It's that
yeah.
energy of you wrote their 1 second too late because the writer says they're 1 second too late. And I know that's how writing works, but it's when you can tell that the writer went, yeah, they're running their ass off, but they happen to be there 1 second too late to prevent the death or the bomb going off. It's
I mean,
ugh.
do you just kind of want the spoiler? Because it's obnoxious.
I'm
Go
not.
ahead.
The only Warhammer books I'm probably ever gonna read.
Okay.
What's the
Go Trek and Felix.
That's the only one I have any interest of. So yeah, spoil the hell out of it for me.
So basically the way the literal world, the planet that they are in, works is that at each polar opposite there are 2 vortexes, and each vortexes is controlling all the like magical energy in the planet. And what the demons are always trying to do is make those vortexes go crazy, because once they go crazy, they can just fucking endlessly pour out, and eventually they pour out so much that the fucking planet just explodes. Literally, that's how the world ends in that setting. The planet explodes. And so they're fighting like Sigmar and Karl Franz, who's inhabited by the spirit of Sigmar, is fighting Archaon, and fucking Louis Leoncoeur and the Green Knight spirits are there helping him fight Archaon, and they fucking like they beat him. They beat him. They beat him, and they beat one of his other goons. And as they beat him, they're all like, "Holy shit, we did it!" And the girl who and Balthasar, like a mage, and like another fucking wizard. I can't remember who they are. They're like, "All right, we're closing the fucking portal. We're closing the portal. We're doing it right now. Like we're everybody, we have this. Like, don't relax, please. We have this, but don't relax." And everybody just kind of relaxes. And then I can't remember who the bad guy was. I can't remember if it was Archeon or just another fucking sneaking little asshole. Just kind of like, I'm just gonna walk up and just stab Balthasar in the back, and Balthasar dies. And
It was Vlad von Karstein couldn't wait 5 goddamn minutes. Because he could have got his revenge in 5 minutes because Balthazar killed his wife Isabella permanently.
right, that was it.
And all he had to do was wait 5 minutes for the portal to seal, and then he could walk up and kill Balthazar, who would have been completely drained of power and energy and any ability to fight back against him. And he walks up and I'm just like,
Yeah, that was it. That was like the even worse
my
part.
God.
Like he
This-
just
this
because Vlad has a vested interest in not letting the planet blow up too. But he just like, oh, and everybody just kind of stops paying attention, I guess. And like, because
Yeah.
it's not like they were far away. The books describe it as they were a breath's pace away from each other. They like, I can't remember the exact description, but they were close. Like it was like fucking Archeon is swinging swords at Balthasar, and fucking Karl Franz is blocking the sword blows.
This has, again, spoilers. You should have seen it at this point. Star-Lord finding out that wow, the scene where like they're all holding him down, everyone, but Star-Lord remembers like, oh, you killed my girlfriend, and now I'm going to make it so we could have defeated you, but because I couldn't hold off my rage for like 2 more minutes. Yeah, it has that energy, which
Like
I
it
love.
isn't even that. Like I get Star-Lord, like kind of like people make emotional mistakes. I
Yeah.
think that's a very valid writing thing. What I don't get is like Vlad is not stupid. Vlad von Carson is not a stupid character. He has been alive for a very long time. B like has a vested interest in Balthasar, finishing the job, and C like knows that like when Balthazar is done doing that, he can do it done. He can wait.
Again, like Fee just said, wait 5 fucking minutes. You're how fucking old? 5 minutes is a breath to you.
Yeah. And so like where like Star Lord is like, okay, I get it. He's like a young guy, literally never had a girlfriend before.
Yeah, no,
Like
Star-Lord, and I used it only as an example of a bit in media. Like, I was not one of those people. I got annoyed at that scene, but I wasn't like, I'm gonna write online about this. No, it just annoyed me in the moment. I agree. I understand his emotions in it, and spoilers, he kind of gets sort of like some closure on it, but yeah, no. Again, from the more you guys tell me about end times, the more I'm like, no, this needed to get peer reviewed before it went to publication.
but yeah, it was basically like all you have to do is wait 5 freaking seconds. And this portal will be closed and then you can stab him. 5 minutes tops. And he can't even wait that long.
Which again, like I said, if he was a human, I could almost understand him not having the patience. But this guy is a vampire, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's
and
like
they were
I said,
working together like a moment ago.
right.
Yeah, a moment ago they were working together, and the Lady of the Lake was literally about to forgive him of his transgressions against Bretonnia. All together, all he had to do was wait.
Again, this screams writer did not let anyone. And what I mean by peer review, I don't mean like, oh, everyone else who worked at like Game Show Workshop, like someone outside who isn't so deep into this, going, no, that's a really stupid thing. Like it's like an Interstellar, that third act where I'm like, no, you're in space. There's so many things. Like if let's just say, the vampire dude is standing there, or like, let's say something lands and knocks him out, or like there's so many other ways you can make something happen for it to then get to that point.
Yeah. I'm pretty certain that we didn't get the book we were supposed to get. I'm actually very certain that the good guys were supposed to win. What just so happened was that what happens when the good guys win? Yeah, like an executive at Games Workshop was like, well, that's really cool, but what happens when the good guys win? And then the writers were like, well, the story ends. Like there's no more chaos because they were about to get rid of chaos. Like, and once you get rid of chaos, like everything else sort of falls like dominoes, and like the good guys would just snowball, and the day would be saved, and there were sunshines and ponies, and everybody would ride into the sunset together holding hands. That would have been how the story would have effectively gone if you know they had closed the portals. And so
Right,
then
but then
like
I would have, with even my knowledge that I've gained over the weeks, and I think we need to kind of end on this topic and then continue. Is like their argument, like, yeah, but it's like, no, there's so much interspecies conflict that there's still plenty of more story to write. Like, just
sure,
just
yeah.
elves versus dwarves. Within that, there's conflict, and I'm sure the more we delve in,
Well, even that was like quote unquote, effectively solved. Was solved within the end times. It was rushed. But they dealt with a lot of this. They actually like did their. They didn't do their best, but they tried to quickly close all the doors real quickly, for whatever reason. But I'm very certain that like the story was supposed to end on a good note, and then an executive went like, and this is why I say like I really hate when money gets involved into fucking creative processes, because like then like guys, we can't sell models if you end the story. Don't end the story. And our space marines so well. What if we had fantasy space marines? What if we did that, guys? And the writers went like, can we not do that though?
I
And the
think
right
again, I don't want to cut you off. I think we should. I think we
oh yeah,
found
sorry. I've
I think we
completely
found
gone.
no.
It's okay. I was happy to let you go off as long as you wanted. What I am gonna say is, I don't personally like Age of Sigmar, but the people who do like it, go enjoy what you like. I'm not gonna riff on you guys in particular. If you like it, go play it. But for people like me, I would rather have the old
Oh,
world
me too.
than Age of Sigmar any day of the week.
I also think
I
we found
have
a topic for another bonus episode.
yeah.
Which would be us talking about the end times, because from what I'm getting, there's so much we can also solely just rip into it. But
Oh,
so
absolutely.
so yeah, I hate to cut you off. I hate doing that feeling, but it's like also
No,
it's
you're
so,
chilling. You're chilling. You're being chilling. I
yeah. So
totally get
let
this.
us
This is a big topic.
So Ray, we're gonna start with you.
Okay.
Do you have any projects or channels or anything you want to plug? And also, when you're done plugging them, please send me the links so I can make sure they're in the episode description.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned before, my name is Reycall Sounds. I'm a music producing YouTuber from the year 3064. I'm currently on a hiatus where I don't myself stream at the moment, simply for reasons that I don't quite want to get into right this second. If you know, you know. If you don't know, well, you'll probably eventually find out if you follow me around enough. But you can follow my shenanigans on @Reycall1 on Twitter. And you can also follow me on Twitter at twitch.tv/RaycallSounds. And very soon, I am going to be doing the very first VTuber Music Festival, which should be pretty happening. It should be probably even next weekend, actually.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Ginger, you got anything to let people know about?
Well, I'll let people know, as I mentioned in the beginning of the episode. This time next, yeah, it's still Sunday, right?
It is.
This time next week, I will be in Maui, starting my new job on Norwegian Cruise Line's Pride of America as the audio technician in the main stage. So that's going to kind of be why there'll be a pause in the recording, because without going into all these details, it's just because it'll take time. Just logistics of it. So that's what I'm going to be up to. So don't worry. Once we get things settled down and I get a pattern, we will resume this. It's just taking a very brief hiatus.
I would love to talk to you about your because I actually also graduated as an audio engineer. It's like, oh,
Yeah, and also I would love to talk to you offline, because like when you mentioned VTuber Music Festival, you're talking to someone. who also is very into VTubers. I have a whole bunch of. I even commissioned VTuber art of Narissa Ravencroft.
Oh,
So
right.
you're talking to somebody who I don't know all of the VTubers, but I am definitely a VTuber enjoyer. Though we slightly skipped over something that Fee, I'll let you talk, but then we also have to kind of circle back to some kind of and like questions I always use as a litmus test for all the societies.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
We're gonna circle back to that in a second.
Yeah.
I stream on Twitch 6 days a week. That's my primary job. If people don't show up and watch, I don't get to eat, which is why I end up streaming for 50 to 60 hours a week. You'll find my Twitch in the description. And I will be getting pre-orders for the last Fallout Equestria novel I'm going to write in November. Props is finishing up the chapters I sent him at Everfree, and then we're going to get those out. So the entirety of that will be done and over. Hopefully by December is when I hope to be sending it to people the week before Christmas, so you get them on Christmas Day. But that's optimistic. It's probably going to be closer to sometime mid-January before I actually am able to publish those. But anyway, Ginger, Ray, what questions or comments do you wish to make as we get to the end of the episode?
Well, interesting. Like some of I used in previous episodes. Always the litmus test is like the poverty level, which we've kind of, without going too much. I'm assuming it's peasantry. There's like, if you're either the nobles, if you're peasants, I'm assuming it's like you are in object poverty. I'm assuming.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, the poorest noble, the clothes on his back are worth more money than the richest peasant will ever see.
So then I'm assuming
That's a quote.
I'm getting the terms confused. A patriarchy is, I forget if that's male or female dominated.
Male dominated.
Yeah, so this is a patriarchy.
Heavily.
Yeah.
There are exceptions after Rapunzel comes along, but exceptions only apply to the nobles. The
Right.
peasants is still very much
so
in their lane.
Yeah, even after we get I forget her actual name, but we get this story's Joan of Arc. It helps to like create this little special division, but it's not the wave of feminism I always look for.
No, it's more like Rapunzel shows up to town, and all the noble ladies who don't want the princess pampering come out to show their stuff to see if Rapunzel deems them worthy to join her.
So it's basically it's a revolution only for the nobles. You don't get it's not a peasant revolution.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the other part of this is Rapunzel may only come to town once in your entire lifetime. So if you're 6 years old, you still gotta prove yourself at 6 years old, or you may never see her again.
Man, if you could prove yourself at 6-year-olds, that'd be a badass 6-year-old. But anyway. I'm trying to think of the other questions I always ask comparing. Okay, we've gone the government, we've gone the economy. Food, we'll just talk about because we'll assume the peasants eat.
There's actually so much to go on about food. Actually, it's even worse for the peasantry.
Right, no, I'm assuming that, but I'm assuming like because we could assume insert, peasant food here, but with the nobles, is it like, are they vegetarians? Are they carnivores? Like, what is typical?
No.
They eat they actually whatever they want, I think. I don't think there's
The nobles have a stern preference for meat because meat is a noble's dish.
Okay. That
do you want to?
You just saying that explains.
Ray, do you want to explain the peasant's diet?
it's
I have no desire to hear the peasant's diet because I can already assume what it is. Because it's gonna,
something really cool that you might like to hear is so obviously you've heard that you've come to understand that this is all based on like, Bretonnia is all based on like this European fairy tale kind of like mythos sort of stories, obviously. Well, you'll be happy to know that a very big part of Bretonnian lore is actually also Robin Hood.
Ooh, we get an actual Robin Hood.
Yeah, it's not a singular person. They're I forget their name, but there's an entire group of people who have like been wronged, obviously, by nobles who set to do their rights, steal for the rich, give to the poor, and live the best they possibly can to improve the life of their fellow peasantry around them, while simultaneously not quite dicking the other nobles, but more so exposing the other nobles to their higher nobles.
All right, I like these people already.
And
So his name is Bertrand the Brigand, and the Bowman of Buragak,
I am.
and that's their models.
They're cool, but it's like I've mentioned this before. I don't like the style of game work. Most of the Game Workshops like models. It just doesn't vibe. And I know I have a specific.
I'm not even gonna lie to you,
style.
these are old and their old models fucking look ugly.
They're
You're-
old. They were never redesigned or reprinted. They are not great.
Look at some Warhammer 40k models. I think Warhammer 40k models look really, really
You know,
cool.
I'm talking about fantasy. I've seen some cool like 40k, but yeah.
Yeah, they're old. This is in a time where like the technology to make mass produce models was not quite stellar, to say the least.
Yeah.
Finer details were next to impossible. These things were also they weren't cast out of like the plastic stuff. They were cast out of, what is it? What were they even cast out of? Metal.
Pewter.
Huh?
It's called pewter.
Pewter.
It's a metal with a very
Yeah.
low melting
I
point.
just
Yeah.
thought of a fun, Fee, I just came up with a fun idea for a shorter air quotes video. We should do a tier list where you show me all the models of all the armies, and I just give them tier lists of like, oh yeah, that's cool, or no, that's ugly as sin. That'd be a fun shorter one. But anyways,
You're gonna run
at
into
this
the
point,
real
I
ugly
think
one.
yeah, Fee, I think unless there's one, I think we've pretty much gotten all of the. Oh yeah, we've talked, and because I think just in the nature of discussing, I think we've come up the weapons. If you're a knight, you can't use anything range. If you use range and you're not a knight, the knights still look down upon you, even though they look down upon on everything. And yeah, I think pretty much actually explaining the history of them, you've kind of answered all the questions I always use as a litmus test. So I can't really think of anything.
Do you have anything you want to ask or add, Ray?
No, honestly, I guess, yeah, no, I think I'm Gucci.
All right. Be sure to hit the like button, everybody. Support us on Patreon, because no, we don't have actual sponsors. Our sponsors are you guys. I need 2 more people to throw $1 at Patreon, and we'll be able to provide a piece of artwork on every single podcast that's unique to that podcast. Just, look at Ray's lovely knight here that's laid across in front of everybody. Who we painted like one of our French Bretonians.
You want to see like me? I want to see that art of the dwarves going.
Oh, please link me the podcast. Where can people find the podcast?
All right, I will throw that link right now. In the meantime, I think that's it from us today. Please do enjoy the rest of your day, and if you're watching this, it means I got all of the podcast episodes caught up this week. Yay!
Remember to get sleep, Fee. You and I had a conversation, and literally I said, Fee, your health is more important than getting an episode out.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Don't lie to me.
Fee, I love you. I care about you. I do not sacrifice sleep just to get out a podcast episode.
Anyway, thank you for joining us, Ray. By the way, everyone, please again do go check out Reycall. They actually put out some amazing stuff I see on my Twitter feed every morning. It's kind of just with like, oh hi, Reycall did something. Oh, that's what Reycall did today. And that's how they ended up on this podcast. If you want to be on the podcast, let us know. We've had.
Did you just? How did you? I don't talk about my love for Warhammer a lot. Sorry, I cut you. How did you know I liked Warhammer?
I when I follow someone on Twitter, I don't just follow them for the first post I see. I actually click and scroll through their history to make sure I'm not following someone that's going to cause me a problem later. And you had a post about Warhammer like a year ago,
Shit.
because I usually scroll back to within the last year, and you had a Warhammer post about a year ago, and I'm like, well, that's completely random and out of context.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also to
scrolled a
add,
year.
and Fee, you can disagree on me this, but we have a policy. It's like everyone's like, oh, I got to have a Twitter following or an X following or whatever following. It's like, yes, we've gotten people in before that have some kind of following, but it's like, shout out to people on Fee server. If there's like a topic where you're like, I am really damn knowledgeable about this Warhammer topic. We don't care if you don't have a YouTube channel or anything. It's like if you are really passionate and knowledgeable about this, talk to Fee, and then we'll figure something out.
I mean, the first thing about you, Ray, that caught my eye was also the does anyone understand the leveling mechanics in MechWarrior Online? And I leaned forward like,
Oh God,
that
I'm
is
so
that is
pissed
a
off.
name of the ancient tomes. I
I'm
was there when
so-
they were doing alpha
I'm
testing.
So pissed off. They changed. I hadn't played for almost whatever. It feels like a decade, and then it's all different. And I'm like, what the fuck? How does this work now? I'm so pissed off. What's this historic XP that I have? What does all this shit work? I don't even get it. I was so angry. I love MechWarrior.
No,
though.
I
I love MechWarrior.
get that. And I was also introduced to you strangely. And I don't know if you even know this. And I'm sorry to him in advance. Yeah, you have a bunch of Warhammer stuff from August 26th, 40K stuff as well. I was scrolling back to find the post that, like, I was like, they might want to come on the show. Tex, thank you for telling me about Ray, by the way.
I feel like I know who this is. What's their full name?
Tex at the Black Pants Legion.
Fucking shit. I should know about them, but I this name sounds very familiar right now, but I'm drawing a blank. I'm so
Tex
sorry,
talks
T-Tex.
Battletech. Tex talks Battletech is the thing that he's known for. He mentioned you because
Wait, that
he
that
was
dude runs a fucking like a Battletech YouTube channel, does he?
yeah, one of the largest in existence. But he was like, hey, do you know anything about this person? I'm
Me?
like, no.
Me?
No, why? He was like, they have some neat mech stuff. Oh, okay.
Me? I don't have. Yeah, I'm like, I know. Me? What are they? Okay, I'll talk to you about that later. I watch his videos. What?
He just saw you in passing and asked if I
yeah.
knew anything.
Huh.
Because he's like, he only goes on social media like once a week, and it's just for him to be like, still a shithole, and then leave.
Tell him I really like his videos. I really
Well,
like
on
his
that-
videos.
I have not met anyone who doesn't like his videos.
On that note,
Anyway, on that note,
Mhm.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
good night, day. Enjoy whatever you're doing. Peace.